all that?
I could do it at the end. I ain't worried about it. It's a rehearsal.
Okay.
But okay, everybody, we live and in effect. This is Brother Ron with the crew for Juneteenth and Father's Day. We did a quick rehearsal. I think it's still some type of is it Saturn retrograde or something like?
Look,
I'm having all types of interesting work right now. Is it Saturn retrograde?
Every time I call you, Rod, I say, what is the moon doing? I know it's been a couple of full moons, but I don't know. If you want to blame it on that, let's do it.
Now, I've been having some issues. I mean, I'm really serious. Like I had I got into a little car accident on Mercury retrograde, like 2 days before the anniversary of my having me a new car. I got into a little car accident. Then I got a rental car, and then the rental car it stopped working on me on the second day. That was yesterday after I got through talking with you, Kara. I couldn't start the rental car. And then the tow man, once he towed away, got it started. And I got another rental car, but it's a downgrade. And I go back to the same place to get an upgrade. Well, and they got my phone number in the system wrong. So I had to actually schedule a shuttle pickup that never came on Thursday. So I had to walk almost an hour in the sun, the hot blazing sun. I thought they were really busy because they had me on hold for 40 minutes. And I still had the phone. When I got there, it was all cool. They all come. There's two guys sitting, shooting the breeze. And, hey, how you doing, sir? Can we help you? I said, man, y'all got me on hold for about 42 minutes. I showed them the phone and said, we didn't get it. We don't have it on the system. But I said, is this your phone number, right? He said, yeah. And the automated voice came on and told me to push this number to get y'all. And I talked to a young lady before to confirm that I have a shuttle ride. So what happened? And they'll give me all these excuses. They give me a discount, whatever like that, but they gave me a car that, stopped working on me on the second day. So I got to go back up there. And it's not about me, but it's Father's Day. It's Juneteenth. I want to thank Sister Kara. Huh?
I'm glad you're okay.
I'm all right, but I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest with you. Like, it's like 2022 is like, what's going to happen now? Nothing surprised me no more. I'm like, after these last 2 years, nothing surprises me anymore. Yeah. I like what's next. I had lost a lot of people over these last. I mean, I be trying to wish folks happy birthday on Facebook. They be dead. I just talked to them a month ago.
Damn.
So I'm thinking there's more people dead than they tell us about from these last 2 years. Cause I know I talked to people in the funeral business. They'll tell them that they were like, 2 years ago, they were burning a lot of bodies.
I wish I could be in that business. A lot of money's being made.
It's recession proof. It's a recession proof business.
Yes, it is.
But
it's the only sure thing in life.
But the thing about it is, like, this is Juneteenth and Father's Day. I want to thank Sister Kara Dangerous, my co-host. You can find her on YouTube, Kara Dangerous Talk. And Brother Gavin Richard, our special guest. He is a comedian, a lawyer, and he has his own YouTube platform, GBoot2786. And also he's the author of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus Bill Cosby. That's the newest, his magnum opus, I guess. He also did a great book on Hurricane Katrina as well several years ago. So there's a lot of good information about the case against Bill Cosby and some of the other things, the background of it, the historical context of it all, and especially what's going on now in the current news cycle concerning the civil suit with Cosby. We'll talk about that as well. So I want to thank, Chris Barber. He's my comedian, but he's MIA right now from the microphone. So hopefully he'll come in. I saw him at a local open mic competition, whatever they call it. There's a lot of talent here in Memphis. And he really impressed me as some guy who's got his own unique way of seeing the world. So hopefully he'll could join us. If not, hell, whatever. But
mark him out of here until he's ready. There he is.
Chris, you got your mic. You muted. You muted your mic. Open up your mic. Open mic. We can't hear you.
There he is.
Chris,
he closed it again.
Open mic. Thank you. Open mic. Can you hear it? All right, Chris.
There you go. Can you hear me?
All right. Hey,
yeah. All right. Yeah. Y'all dropped some heavy game, man. A lot of black history and knowledge that I wasn't aware of, man. And I just kind of muted myself out and turned the cam off. And I'm very interested and excited about coming on again, maybe next week. I know this is kind of like a trial run. I'm actually probably gonna bounce back out again. I got a phone call that I'm waiting on, a business phone call. I'm waiting for this lady to call me from Nashville or Chattanooga, wherever she's at. So bear with me, but I'm enjoying the conversation. And y'all are professional stuff. Like, I didn't know you paint, Brother Ryan. I paint too, also, man. I paint with a lot of different mediums, like oil paint. I don't really like watercolor, but what's the other version? I can't think. I got a brain fart right now. I had a long night last night, but
acrylic. You got acrylic.
Acrylic, yes, acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna show you guys some of my pictures, but I just hadn't had the time to get back into painting. But that's what I want to do consistently, like bigger pieces, and start selling them. So you got an art gallery?
No, I'm not an art gallery. I guess my artist loft is my gallery, but we actually got a show going on about the Fort Pillow Massacre with me and a couple fellow artists. It opened on June 11th and closes on June 21st at the gallery on Main, downtown Memphis, on Main Street, 350.
The one on the corner? The one right on the corner?
It's a couple of arts. It's not on necessarily on the corner. It's near the Civil Rights Museum, but it's on Main Street, on 350 Main Street.
I like to put in some of my pieces, man. I'm working on some pieces right now. Well, it's a blank canvas, but I'm gonna do because I'm a big fan of Cosby, man. We all are. I'm actually gonna paint a picture of a brown hornet.
Okay.
Yeah, brown hornet, but with like a little black, like a black conscious twist on it.
That sounds good. We need that right now.
Yeah. So, I kind of missed some of your topics, but
trust me, the people missed some of the topics. A lot of don't worry about.
Yeah, you was going. That's why I want to say. Now, if you was going real deep, like I didn't know it was graveyards, like people buried under the streets here in Memphis. I mean, I know this is down south, so I figured, during the Civil War, a lot of people got killed, and I know women and children got killed too. But I didn't know the information in regards to the rich history of Memphis with the Civil War and the Confederates.
Oh yeah, this is ground zero for that type of stuff. Like we did the reflaying ceremony on Friday. Normally we do it April 12th on the anniversary of the Fort Pillow Massacre that happened up in Henry, Tennessee, where Alice Haley, the so-called author of Roots and Malcolm X, he didn't really write it, but that's another story. But he grew up in Henry, Tennessee. Fort Pillow.
Really?
Yeah, his it was a case. This guy named Dr. Harold Cortland wrote a book called The African, this white dude, back in 1967. And basically, Alice Haley used that as the blueprint for Roots, and he got sued in court over it. And he lost. He had to pay the guy a large sum.
Wow.
He had to pay his folks a large sum of money. And also with Malcolm X, his Playboy editor, Murray Fisher, wrote that, allegedly. So he didn't really write Malcolm X. And Alice was like naval intelligence, but that's a different story. I don't want to, but white folks steal from us anyway. Who cares? That's why I look at it. And it helped a lot of people find their root. So yeah, but with the Fort Pillow Massacre, that happened April 12th, 1864. And like I was saying with Fort Pillow, the Confederate forces slaughtered nearly 300 people, majority U.S. colored troops, black folks that fought for the Union, some white Union soldiers, and also some women and children. Like it was actually proved, because I know people that love Nathan Bedford Forrest and the Lost Cause, they will always try to overlook that. But you had Confederate soldiers that were involved in the Fort Pillow Massacre. They said that they smashed baby heads in and killed women. And that the Mississippi River ran red with blood for 200 yards, according to Nathan Bedford Forrest. And they tried to excuse that he wasn't in charge, but he basically, Nathan led them guys, about 2,000 of them. And Abraham Lincoln sent a congressional inquiry down to the Fort Pillow area to interview survivors, including Confederate soldiers. And they all agreed it was a massacre, because the reason why it happened, because when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, the Confederates looked at the black folks as traitors. They said, we're not going to treat them as prisoners of war. We're going to kill them. So we catch them, we're going to kill them. And so, them soldiers wanted to surrender because they was outgunned and outnumbered, but they couldn't. So you had black soldiers getting bayoneted in the eyes, getting buried alive, getting set on fire, getting drowned. And you had baby heads getting smashed in with rifle butts, getting bayoneted. You had black women getting murdered. Right. So the Memphis National Cemetery, their remains was moved from the battlefield. Now Fort Pillow is a state park now, and it was moved to Memphis National Cemetery back in 1867. So they had the coffins with the names on them, but what happened, it was a rainstorm that washed away the chalk writings on the coffin, so they didn't know who was in what body thing, coffin. So they buried, and then like the thing about it is they buried people. So you go to the Memphis National Cemetery, you got gravestone markers with unknown soldier, unknown U.S. soldier on it, but also you got the remains of women and children in some of those coffins. So you got 109 cemetery plots, nearly 300 people killed, but only, and then we got the names of some of the soldiers who were killed. We do read the names of the soldiers. We honor both the black and whites who lost their lives. And also what we did, we've been doing, my group is a nonprofit, the We All Be Group Incorporated. We've been doing this since 2016 and been working with different organizations and institutes in the city, grassroots activists, Memphis, ASALA, that's College Wilson's group, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. We work with them, local black churches, funeral homes, the descendants of the people who survived the Fort Pillow Massacre. We've been working with them to honor our dead because they never had a proper funeral burial. So we've been doing that since 2016. And in 2018, we raised $3,000 to put a historic marker honoring our ancestors in front of the Memphis National Cemetery. So when you go there, you see this nice big green marker with a picture of one of the survivors, Peter Williams, who had to fake his death. He actually was hiding under the bodies of his dead brethren. And then there was a white doctor from Mississippi who knew who he was. He said, "Oh, this guy, I know who he is. This is so-and-so." So this white doctor actually vouched for him and saved his life, whatever. And his descendant, Joe Williams, been working with us since 2016. So he's, yeah.
So Ron, I just want to just start back over since we were going because of this full moon and nobody heard what we were saying. But I just want to give you your flowers again and start there because, I'm always so amazed at you. And like I said, it's an honor to be your friend 80% of the time when you're not getting on my nerves. But, you're such a talented person. And I know you don't like for people to just look at your smarts or whatever. We won't have to get into that. Ron's like, don't love me just for my brain. But in all seriousness, just the way that you love the Black community and the ancestors and the way that you constantly go out and honor them and try to keep their name and legacy and history alive. It's so beautiful to see, and a lot of times you're not getting paid for it. You just doing it out of love because you tell me you going out there on the hottest of hot days. I mean, like we were saying earlier, you actually saw the devil outside one day. It was so hot out there. And I was telling Gavin he don't move down to Georgia because they've been having over 100-degree weather. But I'm looking at your beautiful artwork back there, and just how beautiful those eyes are back there and how deep that is. And, you just have a brilliant mind. And I just want everybody to just really, understand that. So thank you, Ron, for being you.
We love
80% of the time.
All right. I appreciate it. 80-20%.
I painted my walls in my bedroom a few months ago.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. You're a good painter. Okay, that's good. But that's
shout out to you, man.
I appreciate it. So let's talk about Cosby, the situation with the civil suit with Judy Huff, and they changing out jurors, from my understanding, and restarting the verdict process over, which is interesting. But this case is weird to me because it's not getting coverage like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. I didn't have to even keep up with it to know what was going on with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. It was everywhere. But with this case, it's like it's not happening. Like it doesn't exist. It's in a vacuum. So I just want to get you all thoughts about what's going on with this particular case, and we can move into the Cosby backstory as well.
That's sort of what I want to know too, Ron, because in your book, Gavin, you talked about that, how Black media kind of been cowardice and, not covering the story, and they kind of put this into white media's hands.
Right. Well, one of the big problems, you want me to start with the Huff case, or you want me to talk about Black cowardice in the media with it? I could.
It's your choice. You may up whatever.
All right, well,
as long as you don't bring up that one name.
Trust me, I won't.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I won't mention that name. But the big takeaway with me, okay, this is Bill Cosby. This is a man who, let's face it, he's been in show business since the early 1960s, over 50 plus years. He has donated over $100 million to historically Black colleges and universities. He's let the NAACP use his image and likeness for nothing. But all the stuff that he did, and to be accused, and let's be clear, an accusation is not a conviction. People can throw whether it's one accusation or 100 accusations. You're innocent until proven guilty, until there's a court hearing and there's due process of law. That's how this works. And for someone like, say, for the likes of Tom Joyner, for instance, Tom Joyner used to do something called the Sky Show every Friday on his show, where he would raise money for HBCUs. When he was in Philadelphia, who would he call to help him promote the show? He called Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby would show up and do it. And Tom Joyner wrote an article when Bill Cosby was charged with formerly sexually assaulting Andrea Constand. He wrote an article saying Bill Cosby should go ahead and take a plea deal. Stop the pain, take a plea deal, Mr. Cosby. Now, this is Tom Joyner who wrote that.
Okay.
And it was a shame to see something like that, because if it weren't for Bill Cosby, Tom Joyner and some of the other comedians in the world, they wouldn't be there. He helped put your show together, and you wrote that article, not giving him his due process, not giving him the benefit of the doubt. You didn't know all the facts and circumstances of the case just because you wanted the case to be over with. Absolutely not. That's not how that works. And even when I was talking with Andrew Wyatt, and shout out to both you and Kira, because I saw you all when you did your interview with Andrew. Andrew and I talked about Tom Joyner. He said Tom Joyner wanted to be the one who essentially gives the money to the HBCUs now. Because remember Cosby, on the Cosby Show, he would wear a Dillard University sweater or a Grambling sweater or Xavier or Howard. Just by him doing that, encouraged Black men and women that as children to go to HBCUs. He created a different world where they talked about racial issues, where they talked about the Black fraternities and sororities. That made Black kids want to go to HBCUs. He's responsible for that in large part. And you noticed how when he did it, all the other 90 shows used to do it. Because remember, Martin started to wear the Morris Brown. Living Single, some of the, like Regine, she would wear a Clark Atlanta or a Spelman shirt. So he was influencing that. So you had these cowards. So essentially these cowards in media who he helped, and certain magazines and so forth, Black magazines. And Bill Cosby would be, whenever he would do an interview, he would be promoting some of these companies and the way they acted and what they did, especially from Tom Joyner. And that's his frat brother, by the way. That's another thing. Him, Andrew Wyatt, D.L. Hughley, and I know the story about D.L. D.L. doesn't like Bill Cosby because he criticized him over using the N-word and so forth. Or he didn't like Def Comedy Jam. You know, I actually, if you watch the interview Glad had with Earthquake, who I respect as a comedian, Earthquake was like, yeah, he did this shit because, you know, the judge was right because, you know, Bill Cosby, if he had his way, he would have got Def Comedy Jam taken off the air. Def Comedy Jam was on HBO, not NBC. If he was critical of it, he could be critical of it, just like some other people were critical of Def Jam and comedy and so forth. I mean, yeah, I remember when even David Allen Greer, he said there were times when he watched Def Comedy Jam and he said it was setting Black people back 400 years.
In your book, Gavin, it was a great quote that says that those that control the purse strings can control the organization. And I love when I read that because, as you pointed out, the NAACP, you're waiting to see what they were going to do. People like Reverend Al Sharpton, you said you were waiting to see what they were going to do. And nobody said anything. And we have to remember that the people that these organizations get their donations from are the people who don't want our stories to be told.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's about money, you know, at the end of the day. You know, you control people. These organizations are controlled. Even Andrew made a point interview he did, and by the way, I gave a special thanks to New Black Media, especially to you, Ron, Tariq Rashid, Sean James, a bunch of people who supported me and also just helping with this. But yeah, I mean, SCLC, for instance, is broke. The NAACP, and Andrew Wyatt pointed that out. The NAACP, for instance, also they get their contributions from Fortune 500 companies that support them, donations. That's why they have to accept certain agendas now that they weren't keen on supporting years ago. Certain things that they will do, they do it now because they are getting millions of dollars. It's the same reason why you have with these political campaigns, these Democrats, why they're supporting certain things. They are trying to appeal to a certain group, a certain demographic with stuff. And they didn't want to say anything. And you mentioned Al Sharpton, by the way. In my conversations with Andrew, he stated Al Sharpton you was actually calling him during the time all this stuff was going on. You need something? You all right, brother? What you need? Al Sharpton said, "Yeah, I'm going to give you a call later. I'm getting on this airplane." He said he never heard from him since. So that's what tells you about Al Sharpton. This is the same Al Sharpton, by the way, who used to wear a pompadour and a sweatsuit and was actually go out with pork chop sideburns and trying to fight for different stuff, getting pushed on Geraldo and Martin Downey Jr. show. Now he doesn't do that anymore. He's thinned out. He's smoking cigars. He's thinned out. He's on MSNBC. Right. He's got to promote, Jewish groups. He's got to promote LGBT. He's got to promote immigrants. Everybody else but black folk. It's just like when we talk about hate crimes and what happened in Buffalo. Why are you got to mention everybody else? Because what happened in Buffalo was against black people. It wasn't against LGBT. It wasn't against immigrants. Why are you talking about going to the White House doing this We Are the World coalition?
Because you got to make the people who paying for you comfortable. Right. You better believe that. You put in your book also, and this is a guy who's been on both Run's show and my show, that there is no black Hollywood. Judge Joe Brown said that, and he's not the first person I heard in this media world say that. But something else you had in your book, Gavin, that touched me was you said after that, too many complacent Negroes in the entertainment industry who are too interested in getting a check, too scared to speak out on certain issues. That's really the meat of it right there.
Right, absolutely. Just two people, it's like what I pointed out with Tom Jordan. I'm not saying that we didn't know, even if you don't know the facts as to what happened, that's fine. But you should have let the man have his day in court before you just jumped on a bandwagon. If you're doing it, and it sounds like most of the people were doing it against Dr. Cosby because they were upset at the fact that he was critical of the black community. He criticized black men. He criticized Def Comedy Jam. He didn't like my comedy. That's the type of stuff that I saw take place. When I talked about with D.L. Hughley or Earthquake or a bunch of other people. I was even surprised when Marsha Warfield was coming out talking about it. Like, Marsha, really? This happened. Marsha Warfield from Night Court talking about, I heard Bill Cosby was doing this back in the 80s when I was in Night Court. Don't even drink around him. I'm like, why are y'all saying this now?
Right.
You're trying to stay right. Yeah. And even I got into it once. I'll tell you the story. I didn't mention this, but one of Paul Mooney's sons was a Facebook friend of mine, and he was talking about how he had a friend who supposedly that happened with her and Dr. Cosby, but he didn't mention the friend. But then his father gets accused. Paul got accused of stuff by Richard's bodyguard, and he went on to defend. And it was one of the Mooney twins, and they went on the defensive. And what's interesting is they brought up how black men are treated in Hollywood, and they mentioned Bill Cosby, they mentioned Michael Jackson, but you see, it's not easy when it's your family. It's different when your family gets accused of stuff. So what I was saying is that I don't, even with something like that that's serious, wait for all the facts to come out and see what happens and make a decision. But the thing is that he wasn't given due process. It was a rush to judgment with this thing. They made black men the face of this Me Too movement. And you see now Notice too, and I just bring up the Judy Hutt thing because Wyatt asked me that. You notice that Playboy wasn't even mentioned in the lawsuit.
Right.
They could have made more money if they had mentioned Playboy and sued for vicarious liability if they wanted to bring that up. They didn't do that. Gloria Allred, what she did, she got back in August of 2014, she had a conference with several of these women. I believe Judy Huff may have been one of those at that time. I'm not sure, but she said we can make all this go away if Bill Cosby puts up $100 million bond and puts it in a trust fund and have some judges oversee it to all of these women. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like extortion.
Hush money. Yeah, hush money.
Right. But that's what she does. She came after, remember, she came in the 90s. She went after Michael Jackson. She went after him again in 2001, 2002 with the blanket situation when Michael had the baby over the balcony. She wanted child protective services on Michael. She went after Tiger Woods when Tiger Woods was her and her daughter, Lisa Bloom. She went after Tiger. She went after Mike Tyson. I actually know Tom Mesereau, who was the attorney in that situation. As soon as he came on, Gloria Allred left because she knew there was no case with it, Mike Tyson's situation. He was being accused of rape out in Nevada, and that went nowhere. So that's what she does. I would calling her ambulance chaser would be putting it mildly. This is so to make some money. Yeah, she's an extortion. She essentially is an extortionist. She's doing what Michael Avenatti is doing.
And now he facing prison time. And Michael Avenatti, he's facing prison time. Right, but Gloria Allred, she was the extortionist. She's from Philadelphia. She does things that will make people like Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel blush. Bugsy Siegel got killed June 20th, 1947. So that'll be the anniversary of that tomorrow in Beverly Hills, of all places. So y'all talking about getting killed in cookie shops in the hood and Fatburger and Watts. He got killed in Beverly Hills. So
at his girlfriend's house. Yeah.
He was in the house, but there's so much stuff to that. And he's my favorite gangster, actually, because he what a gangster's supposed to look like and act like as far as Hollywood is concerned. But with Gloria Allred, she's not a real trial lawyer. She tries her cases in the court of public opinion, and she is like an extortionist and a blackmail artist to me, because she don't have no credentials to really try anybody in the courtroom with due process.
In this case, she wasn't trying this case. Her partner is trying it. The gentleman. Yeah, she has. I can tell you, I could beat if Gloria were in the courtroom with me. I could beat her just because I know motions practice. She probably is not even aware of that.
Well, I just want to say, and reading your book and hearing this conversation, Black people can really disappoint me sometimes. We didn't take any of those old proverbs or anything and pass them down. I don't know who first said this, and it may not belong to our people, but you ever heard of the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend?
Yeah.
When it came to the Earthquake situation, I think Earthquake is a talented comedian, yes, but when he made those statements about Bill Cosby, I felt like sometimes you, like how they say you have to pick your battles. Sometimes you need to look at the scales and say, what is worth me going hard on and what is not worth me going hard on, because you didn't have enough information. And why do Black people not like being assessed? We don't like being criticized by other Black people who have become accomplished. Let's just say like Kevin Samuels. A lot of people took issue with him because he criticized, but God said that a father has to be able to do that, has to be able to reprimand and teach lessons. I'm not saying I agree with everything that Kevin Samuel said. I'm just using it as an example. But why would you go totally against Bill Cosby just because he said that he don't like young guys sagging their pants, or don't chew gum a certain way, or don't use the N-word? Like, so what? He told you not to use the N-word. It's a lot of people, dear Hewlett, that don't want you to use the N-word. Do you hate them all? I rap and I don't use the N-word in my songs. I don't feel like we should be using it and then letting white folks just say it, and then they can just say it by me and I'm not supposed to say anything. So why take something like that to just bash somebody who's meant so much to us. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah.
To me, it's like at that point, it needs to be an enemy of my enemy is my friend. You should assess the situation and say, well, these white folks show to control the media. Look what they have historically done to us. Look at all the white men who have been accused and haven't been hung in the public like Bill Cosby has. I think at that point, that's when you have to assess yourself, the whole situation, and say, yes, Bill Cosby may have hurt my feelings by saying he didn't like Def Comedy Jam. But out of everything he did, is that really, I'm really going to let that little bit of criticism make me totally just beat him when he's already down? Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Look, my parents don't like my comedy. Don't like me cursing.
Right. But do you hate them?
No.
Exactly.
I ignore it. Like I've been doing as a kid. Yeah, like we always do. I mean, look, Eddie Murphy, when Eddie Murphy came out and they talk about Bill criticizing him, a lot of people don't know Richard Pryor didn't even like Eddie Murphy. If you read Richard Pryor's autobiography, Pryor Convictions, he even said he felt Eddie's comedy was mean-spirited. Lucille Ball criticized Eddie Murphy because she said he was filthy. Rodney Dangerfield, and even Eddie Murphy talked about that. He was on Actor Studio with James Lipton, and he talked about how Rodney Dangerfield told him, "Hey, kid, you got to watch your language. You got to watch your language. It's too much." And then when he's headlining at Caesar's Palace, Rodney Dangerfield walks in the urinal next to Eddie Murphy, looks at him and says, "Hey, who knew?" And, that's how it was. And even Eddie, when he did his biography, they did a biography story on him. They talked about Bill Cosby talking to him, and he was trying to warn Eddie about his language because he didn't want him to be blackballed, because they would do that with certain comedians, like Lenny Bruce, for instance, who's considered a pioneer. Lenny Bruce got arrested multiple times with the law, back over his language and so forth. Red Fox, who I admire, and I admire both of them. Red Fox didn't become popular on Sanford and Son until he was almost 50, and he had been putting out like 40 comedy albums. But Red Fox, by the way, Red Fox and Bill Cosby actually owned the comedy club out in Los Angeles back in the early 60s, just for historical reference. Ron is not the only one that can pop up something from.
I knew you was gonna say that. I knew you was gonna say
also, Red Fox, what's interesting about Red Fox? He was good friends with Malcolm X back in his running days. They were dishwashers at Jimmy Chicken Shack up in Harlem, and these white people but Dr. Bill Cosby had all that radical militant stuff in the club, and Red Fox was the one who was friends with Malcolm X, told him take all that stuff down. Right, we didn't want all that radical militant stuff in that place. Yeah.
Right. He wanted his club to be open to everybody. Red was I guess you could say he was an integrationist. But Red Fox actually was one of the nicest people, from what I hear, ever. He would give money out of his pocket to anybody that needed, because he used to be homeless at one time. So
he was homeless at the end, it sounded like, with the IRS.
He was broke, yeah. And he asked Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor to help him out, Frank Sinatra. That's actually who gave Red Fox his big break, because after the comedy albums he was putting out, he wasn't making any money from it. And he became friends with Frank Sinatra, and Sinatra signed him to Capitol Records. And that's how he started to.
But who made Capitol Records? It wasn't Frank, it was Nat King Cole. He basically made them, like Cosby made NBC, but we don't get no credit where credit due, because you look at Nat King Cole, and I love Frank Sinatra, and his favorite gangster was Bugsy Siegel too. And I love Frank Sinatra, but Nat King Cole was, Nat King Cole was phenomenal. If Nat King Cole never sung a note, if all he did was play piano, he'll still be one of the greatest musicians who ever lived.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. Frank Sinatra. I know we're getting off subject, but Frank Sinatra actually helped Nat integrate Las Vegas, especially at the Sands Hotel, because of Nat King Cole. Nat King Cole was eating in his car, and he told his valet, George Jacobs, "Why is Nat eating in the car?" And Frank and Nat, were close friends. And when Jacobs came back and told him and said, "They don't let Negroes sit in the dining room. You could perform, but I can't eat there," which didn't make any sense. So Frank Sinatra gets up, he talks to the owner and the whole staff. He says, "If Negroes can't eat in the dining room, if Nat King Cole is not allowed, we can fire the whole damn staff, fire everybody. He said, I'm not going to perform if Nat King Cole can't eat as my guest.
Hello.
And
we just talked about that the other day, Ron.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stories. Sammy Davis Jr. too had issues, and his stand-in on Ocean's 11. I was reading his autobiography by Matt Burke by Deconstructing Sammy. And Sammy is tied to Cosby in this too, by the way. But his stand-in was gambling at one of the hotels, I can't think of where, and a security guard grabs him on his shoulder and says, "What do you think you're doing here, boy?" He said, "Well, they told me I can gamble here." It's like, nah. He grabs him by his shirt, pulling him, and Sammy sees this going on. Sammy stops everything. It's like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" He said, "Well, they told me I could gamble. They're kicking me out because they said I couldn't gamble." And he said, "Of course you can gamble here." And he stops and he tells the owner and manager, "Isn't that right?" The guy's like, "Oh, yes, Mr. Davis. Yes. Of course he could gamble here." And he gives him a whole wad of chips, and he tells him, he says, "You have any problems, Sammy, let me come get me. Let me know." But that's the type of bullshit they had to deal with in Las Vegas. And that's on the West Coast, Ron. See, a lot of people think racism was just limited to the South. It wasn't. It was everywhere. Even Nat King Cole, when he moved into his home out in Los Angeles, he had problems. And they had to actually have masked as a white couple buying the home. You know, they killed his dog. They shot through the window. Yeah, they used to tell him, "We don't want any undesirables in here." And he said, "Me neither. And when I see any, I'll let you know."
And actually, if you Google, it's more segregated in the North and West than it is in the South. But people don't know that. But as far as housing and everything, we actually are more together here in the South.
It's always been like that, though. They like to keep their slaves. Slaves were like family. If you like the family dog, if you was a slave back in the day. Like Paul Mooney said, you can't find a job now. Bring back slavery. Everybody have a job. You have a home to stay in, a room, and we just love to help you back home. And but with Nat King Cole too, he's from Alabama. He was born in Alabama. He was raised in Chicago.
Right.
He did a concert in Alabama, and he was attacked on stage not by Will Smith. I don't think he was even born then, but by a white dude who was a Klansman. They beat him down. I don't think he pressed any charges, but these white guys who were Klansmen ended up killing a Winn-Dixie truck driver who was a black man. They forced him to jump off a bridge, and he drowned or whatever they did. He killed him. But Nat King Cole went through a lot of stuff. But a lot of our people caught a lot of hell. No matter how much he was entertaining, like even with Sammy Davis Jr. I heard another tale how he actually lost his eye from people who actually worked with Sammy. And I'm not gonna talk about it, man, but it involves some white woman or something. But anyway, Sammy loved white meat. But at
the end of the day, if black men learn to kind of leave white women alone, a lot of this stuff would have been. I mean,
perhaps
when we gonna learn the lesson there? I mean, everybody want to say love is love, but love don't all. What love got to do with it? And a lot of time it ain't love. It's for your sex. But I want to ask you something about your book.
Sure.
Going back to the book, Gavin, because this is the part that kind of bothers me.
What's that?
The Black Hollywood, because Jude Apatow is one of the, he's the white people, he's the king of white comedy. Right. Okay, all the movies in the past couple of years, all the movies in the last decade that are comedy, he did it. 40-year-old virgin. I mean, you can go down the list.
Yeah.
But I never seen, I'm just trying to figure out, why is he meddling so much in this business of Bill Cosby? He's spoken out so many times. He's jumped on Felicia Rashad for making statements. And he's one of the biggest producers, screenwriters in Hollywood. Where are the black big producers? Where are the black screenwriters on that level? And this is what kills me about Black Hollywood, is that they can allow somebody big from the white people to do it, but nobody will speak up. And it's not just about Bill Cosby. Okay, I'm just saying in general, they don't mind helping their people out. But with us, we always gonna take whatever side or whatever point of view the white media tells us to take, unless you're free thinkers like the three of us.
Sure. Well, let me say this too. There were some, and I should say in fairness, there were some black celebrities who did speak out.
Yeah.
I can give you Joe Torre actually was on the Tom Jones Morning Show. He actually attended the trial, and he's Bill Cosby's frat brother.
Omega Sci-Fi, right?
And he even said, you know, he even said after Bill was convicted, he said these were some old hoes who wanted money. He actually said that on Daily Mail. Louis Dix came out. Damon Wayans actually spoke out on the Breakfast Club, and that was another. You know, if you listen to them like Angela Yee, I can't even watch the Breakfast Club anymore when I'm listening to her. But and even Charlemagne, but you know, Damon Wayans was going hard on it. You know, he was like he thought this was a money hustle. Eddie Griffin was on Vlad, and that's the thing too. They went on, and you mentioned this, Kara. They went on Vlad, like DL and Lunel, John Amos even saying stuff about it. And John Amos was in Let's Do It Again. Earthquake. They went on Vlad talking about it, but Eddie, if you watch Eddie Griffin, who's one of my favorite comedians of all time, he actually controlled the conversation with it. You know, he wasn't buying it. So there were some black people who spoke up, but they let someone like Apatow, it's very serious. Like I say again, it's about a check. It's about money. It's, you know, Hollywood is not about it. The old saying is it's not what you know, it's who you know. But it's really about having relationships. And a lot of people, I think, who want to make it in Hollywood, they have to sacrifice and give up certain things in order to do that. And they weren't going to come up against, you know, Judd Apatow. But, you know, I don't care about Judd Apatow. We have black producers, people that make independent films that can launch stuff like Tariq Nasheed. Our brother Will Packer, who does the comedy films, he's produced Girls Trip and so forth. We have met black men like that who can do that, but he's part of that. It's part of that cabal that, and I won't name names, but you know what I'm talking about, that have a disassociation or disinterest in strong black men. And Bill Cosby was one of those men who stands up for himself. You know, he has bass in his voice. As Judge Joe Brown told you, Ron, I still listen to that clip, by the way, when you asked if there was some type of conspiracy against Bill Cosby, why would they do it? He said Bill Cosby is a straight heterosexual African-American male with too much bass in his voice. And that's really what it is. You notice I had a conversation with Andrew a few weeks back, and he actually said how they approached Dr. Cosby to do a Different World reboot. And he refused to do so because he knew if I give them this, instead of Dwayne chasing Whitley, Dwayne's going to chase Ron.
Well, you know, my thing is you always got to pay the piper. Is it, Ron? It don't matter. It don't matter how good you try to be. If somebody else puts you into this business and they put money behind you, most of the time you're going to owe them at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing with the rappers. We see it all the time. The rappers who are gang related or, you know, come from the hood, they always have to spend money on their huge entourages. And the moment that they stop that money, somebody in that group turns on them. So you have to realize when you come into this business, if you're being paid for, it may seem like that you're having grace for 20 years, but baby, as soon as you think you're going to rest your head on that pillow, they are coming for you. You will have to pay the price. Nothing is free in this world. It's no free loans, baby. They're going to ask for something back at some point, and that's what it sounds like that they also did to Bill Cosby. We heard Andrew say he pissed off some people, but on the other flip side of that, if they put all this into him, he had become a made man. And I mean, I saw the pictures before we joined of him holding his Emmys, him with his cigars. He had become too powerful. Just like Michael Jackson had become too powerful, too influential. They're not going to let you get away with it. You will have to lose your integrity at some point, or they will slander your name and bring you down, just point blank. It's time for people to wake up and understand the smoke and mirrors that are going on today.
No black man leaves this business clean. That's something Eddie Griffin said too. And let me say this to this point with Judd Apatow. Judd Apatow had smoke for Felicia Rashad and Bill Cosby and Eddie Griffin and Damon Wayans, but he didn't have the smoke for Andy Dick and put him in the movie. Andy Dick was, sexually assaulting men. And apparently from the video that was released, he was just arrested for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Did he work with also Danny Masterson? Do you remember Danny Masterson from the 70s show? Who was brought up on rape charges? I think he was on a Judd Apatow show on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken.
He was on The Ranch. I don't know if Judd Apatow produced that, but he was on The Ranch and got fired. Now, I'll say as a general rule, I don't know the facts of this. He's innocent till proven guilty. I do know Tom Mesereau actually is his lawyer, by the way.
Okay. He wrote a great endorsement of you in your book too. I mean, it was a great endorsement. You did some great interviews with Tom over the last couple of years as well too.
I did. I interviewed Tom, Scott Ross, who was also the PI in the case. Shout out to him. Tom Mesereau. Yeah, Tom was also, as you know, Michael's lawyer.
Right.
I'm bringing up Danny only because if Jude had any dealings with him, we didn't hear anything a peep about that. I mean, he did get fired from the ranch, but yeah, you're innocent or guilty until proven, but he didn't give the same leeway to Bill Cosby, is my point.
Right. I get your point. No, I get your point. And that's why I brought up the Andy Dick thing. He actually cast Andy Dick in his movies, and Andy Dick was accused of doing stuff like that multiple times before this one he had been arrested on. See, on this charge, this battery, I believe they actually had it on camera with him doing it. So other times he had been accused, he didn't say the same thing. And, for whatever it is, Judd Apatow, I don't really care for him. Even if I don't get cast in one of his movies good, I don't care. I can make my own movie. That's the way I look at it, or get something from someone else. But that whole thing is about relationships, as I said before. And Bill Cosby is a man who, for all intents and purposes, you think about it, he's self-made. Although I'm not saying he didn't do all things by himself, but I never saw Bill Cosby ever put on a dress.
Well, when you say relationship, that's why I'm still talking about Judd Apatow, because there's somebody out there that's hoping that they're going to be put in one of his movies. Like I said, he's one of the biggest producers in Hollywood. So that'll keep a lot of people from talking right there. Some of those names that you put in your book who did defend Cosby, let's just be honest. Sinbad, we got who's the comedian?
Faison Love too. Faison Love. Shout out to
but
him.
what I'm saying, point I'm trying to get to is that those are smaller names. Joe Torre. If it's gonna be people on the level of Joe Torre, it's got to be several Joe Torres. Okay. We need more people like Damon Wayans to step out, or his brother, actually. Like his brother, what has he said? We need people who have a little bit more power in Hollywood to step out. That's what we need.
Well, I don't know what Keenan's position is on it. Keenan has been silent on it. And to be honest, if you don't have anything nice to say, my mom used to say, don't say it at all. So some people, I can hear, probably don't, like we said, don't want to rock the boat. Some people may not have anything to say. Anthony Anderson was asked about it. He says it doesn't affect his, the allegations do not affect his legacy. I remember Anthony saying that, but he didn't go, I think, hard and saying, "Oh, hell with these women." Nobody defended Felicia Rashad when Apatow came after her. That was a thing I saw. Felicia Rashad. This is her birthday, by the way. Today.
I think it hurt Felicia Rashad in her dealings with Howard University. I think a lot of people have such esteem and respect for her, but I think she took a hit by not addressing the student issues and the housing, and it made her look bad because a couple of people think she's stuck up and whatnot, and I think that at that time she probably should have handled that a little bit different, especially with everything that's been going on. I mean, we had Dr. Randy Short actually talk about some of the Howard stuff in the past, but I think when stuff like this is going on, you really need good PR to really keep things on the up and up.
Well, she was being attacked before she became the dean at Howard. when she defended Bill. So it's madness. But yeah, that situation in Howard is messed up. But that actually, being someone who's went to at HBCU myself as well out at Southern, I can attest that those conditions are very real.
Oh yeah.
Bathroom water not running properly, stuffed up toilets and tubs. That does happen, but no air conditioning. That stuff happens. But nevertheless, she was defending her friend, somebody she had known for several years. As you all know, Felicia Rashad also is Debbie Allen's sister, who produced A Different World. He brought her in the second season and told her he wanted to make it successful. And I think she even didn't say too much or defend him, which was I wasn't surprised with, but maybe she surprised with. But
we have to remember too, Gavin, we all have spoken to Andrew Wyatt, and he did say that maybe to his own detriment, Mr. Cosby asked some people not to stand up for him because he saw how he told them, hey, even some of the people off the Cosby show that wanted to kind of speak on the situation. He said, look, I don't want to hurt your career. He told Jill Scott that. He told Whoopi Goldberg that. So we have to remember that as well.
But Whoopi threw him under the bus too. She said, Bill, this
later on.
Good. Whoopi threw him under the bus. Jill Scott even said stuff about him under the bus. She defended him at first. She went public defending him, and then recanted and for it. And then Chris has a question.
Jill Scott, what's her relationship with Bill Cosby? Was she on the show or something? I don't recall.
No, they're from Philadelphia, so she just knew him as a friend. My understanding, they were good friends, and she was. I'm sorry.
We don't.
Well, he must be like a mentor too, because she's kind of younger.
I mean, she said that was a friend of hers, so yeah, could be.
We don't know who told them to make the statements, is what I'm saying, because
I see.
To get back into their good graces, of course they're gonna make a statement, because if you don't make a statement in today's media, then you're not forgiven. You know, you got to make it public. Right. But I guess the point is, they obviously started out being objective and not bashing him just off, immediately. So I didn't know Jill Scott had actually made had backslid her comments or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that when she first came out and took it back, she kind of retracted. Also, I talked to the great Sonia Sanchez, the great poet, one of our elders, our true elders. I had a chance to talk to her about the Cosby thing back in 2014. And she said, I'm not going to say anything on it. I'm going to just wait till everything comes out, because she's from Philadelphia too. I mean, she worked with Malcolm and all these great people. And I mean, we don't have a code. That's our problem as a people. I think Steve Harvey, who's Omega, was also told to stand down at first by Cosby and his people. And you look at Judd Apatow, you look at also who his friends are, like Paul Rudd, like Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen is pushing that stuff on Amazon Prime called The Boys, and I enjoyed The Boys, but it's some homoerotic stuff going on with that. Some real serious program. He's on the show masturbating and all this stuff. I mean, and they talking about Cosby, who told people to be decent and not cuss and not degrade themselves, and he's the monster. And you got these monsters out here making this stuff, programming not only our children but people in general. People are being programmed to act a certain way. You understand? This is programming. This is not natural that we are experiencing with Cosby. Anthony Anderson, for example, when he did the movie Hustle and Flow in Memphis, he almost got sent down on a rape charge. That's why Anthony is treading light with the Cosby thing, because he was facing the Me Too back in 2004 and 2005. You understand? They want to see him away down here for alleged rape.
You know who else got sent up, Ron?
Really?
Oh, I heard about Clifton.
Clifton Powell got accused. Pinky from Friday, he got accused on.
We are now Pinky.
Yeah, and what he did that Sister Talk show where he was talking about Cosby. I'm like, dude, you almost got sent up on a rape charge too now.
Well, I heard, you know what I'm saying? I heard some folks, I can't talk on everything. Yeah. But I like Clifton. He's a great character actor.
Clifton Powell.
Yeah.
Clifton Powell.
I heard a thing about him, an incident from a sister that I respect. I don't know if it's true. I mean, I'm just saying, people got all types of backstories on people. Just because you got those backstories don't make it true.
Right.
You understand? You know what I'm saying? Especially you wait decades later to come forward with your so-called story of rape or abuse. Cosby didn't fool anybody. He was willing, honest about that deposition. He did. He told the truth. He got those as prescriptions, those disco biscuits, those Quaaludes. He offered it as a choice. The women in that mockumentary said he offered us the drugs. He didn't sneak it in the drink. He offered them, and they said, you know, some of them said, yeah, we know about them drugs. We use at the party. You know, so like he was a part. He's a victim of the culture. I mean, circumstance or whatever.
That's what it is.
The 70s was a drug culture. You had, I mean, one of my favorite comedians of all time, he was open about it, was Richard Pryor. I mean, Richard was open about doing cocaine, and Paul Mooney even talked about how he would hang out with Richard. He'd never do drugs, but they would pass the tray around with the cocaine and $100 bill. He would take the hundreds and pass it along, you know, or having a soup bowl of cocaine in Richard's house. That's the type of stuff. George Carlin, Freddie Prinze, all of those guys was fooling with hard drugs. And Bill
Robin Williams.
That cost him his life later on, I think, doing all that. Because you live long enough, things catch up with you. You live long enough, things you did in your youth will catch up with you.
But that's another reason why they don't want to discuss it, I feel, because they don't want more eyes on other folks. It may be somebody out there that's not speaking up because they like, I don't want the attention to come on to me.
But you know, the problem is Bill Cosby, his great mistake. Like I told Andrew, he ain't no gangster to me, even though he from Philly, he ain't no gangster like Gloria Allred, because gangsters pay for protection. Not just the gangsters get protection from the merchants, but they pay off the police, you pay off the judges, you pay off everybody to protect your interests. And Cosby gave away millions of dollars and got no return on his investment. They need to Cash App and Venmo and Zelle his money back. He get no return on his investment. He get no benefit of the doubt.
The HBC threw him under the bus. First off, I want to know something. How you gonna rescind somebody's award that you physically gave them? You gonna go in his house and take it?
But the IRS took people Bryson's Grammy. I don't know. They can do whatever they want to do.
No, but the universities that
we got an Oscar
Grammy. The universities that gave him his honorary degrees and scholarships that he had. You're not gonna physically go in there and take it.
But what is Harvard University? They made their money off the slave trade and slavery. And John Hopkins was a slaver. So I don't give a damn about these organizations taking away their trophies. And Margaret Sanger gave Dr. King a prize back in the 60s. Who cares? Yeah. It don't mean we always think white folks awards mean something. To me, it mean more of a person thought of me that's my peer or somebody who really gave from their heart and not for attention or political reasons. That mean more to me because Obama did not deserve no Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
But the guy
you never gonna win when you in bed with your enemy. And until black folks start to understand that and stop talking about love is love and all this stuff, it ain't gonna get no better because it's deeper than that. And I think a lot of them see the end game better than we see it.
Yeah. If I can bring this point up too, and I mentioned this in the book, and I guess we could talk about a couple of accusers. Like when Janice Dickinson made her accusations against Cosby, Bill Cosby actually had a comedy special on Netflix that was to debut. It was called 78 to celebrate his 78th birthday. He shot it out in San Francisco. Robert Townsend was the director of that comedy show, and we've never seen it to this day. And Robert Townsend worked on The Meteor Man back in '93. That was our first black hero that we saw. And I remember going to movies and see. And Bill Cosby was in that film, and he worked that film for nothing to help Robert Townsend with the budget. Beverly Johnson was even in the film as well, and she played the nurse in the movie. No, she didn't play his wife. She played the nurse.
Robert Townsend, he's been criticized for being a bit coon and not speaking out on issues as well. Has he? So are you saying
called him out?
Who?
Fajon Love called him out.
Okay, that's who it was. Fajon Love, who loves to get on Vlad TV, who you wrote in your book seems to have an agenda against Cosby, isn't that right?
Yeah, he has a apparent agenda, and that's the thing too. You go on Vlad. If you notice, every time Vlad is on there, any black person that goes on there, he's got to ask them about Cosby. You ever notice that Michael Jai White? I don't know what Michael's deal with Cosby is per se.
That's weird.
D.L. Hughley, Earthquake, An Earthquake actually said that they should just let the case go. I'll just recanted it. But John Amos, he asked everybody, even rappers who have nothing to do with it, about it. Mark Curry, he even asked about it. But Mark Curry, Mr. Cooper, he stayed on code. He said, I'm not going to talk about John. Same thing with John Sally. Mark Curry, by the way, Bill Cosby talked Mark Curry. Bill Cosby and Sinbad talked Mark Curry out of committing suicide.
Wow.
Mark Curry had a bad accident where he was burned all over his body a few years ago, and he contemplated suicide. And Mark Curry credited Sinbad and Dr. Cosby, Bill Cosby, for preventing him from doing that stuff.
Well, yo, Faison, this is my first time. I thought Faison, he was at first he was on Bill Cosby's side. It was sounded like to me. You saying he switched sides up?
No, I didn't say Faison turned.
Okay, well, I thought y'all was saying I had Faison being.
Well, you know, Andrew Wyatt did a special on my show about Vlad TV. So if people want to check that out, it's on the Curators Talk page. But he talked about how DJ Vlad did him.
Vlad put a copyright strike against me for that ad. There was an ad that Kevin Steele, he's a DA out in Montgomery County where Bill Cosby, when he prosecuted that case. Vlad copywrote the ad, claimed to copyright the ad that this man had back in 2015 before Vlad even talked about it, where he was talking about locking me up. If you elect me, I'll get Bill Cosby put in jail. Basically going over all the accusers with Bill Cosby and why they didn't do anything. And vote for me and I'll do this. And Vlad put a copyright strike against me because I had played that ad, but I won in the end. So
of course he did.
Yeah, of course he does. He's a vulture.
Somebody, John T. Williams, one of our favorites, me and Ron's favorites. He just said, "Why do black folks go to Vlad TV telling our business?" Well, I'll tell you why. Look at his subscriber count. When you're in Hollywood, when you're in the media, all you care about is numbers. All you care about is getting your face out there. That's why, like Ron, he got Andrew White actually. You made a case for him to get on social media, right?
Yeah, but he should have been got on social media like years ago. That's the problem, because a lot of this confusion could have been avoided to me if he got in front of the narrative. It's like, I'm glad that he's telling us about what's going on right now with the civil case. Imagine if he was doing that, going Facebook or Instagram Live 4 years ago.
And that's my point, though, Ron. The Black Hollywood, they'll support people like DJ Vlad because he's that word that I won't say. He has the subscriber count. How many rappers have we heard complain about DJ Vlad and say, "I think the homeboy trying to get me in trouble. He's asking me questions like he talked to the police." Even I think Lil Baby was asking him, like, "How did you even know that information you just said? Nobody knew that but me and the other person who was in the room. Like, how did you even find out?" But black people continue to run there. They don't want to do small black media because, let's just be honest, they don't think that we're on a level enough to where they'll be seen enough. So they just say, screw us. But what they fail to realize is that you can help build us up. We're giving you good point of views. We're being objective. We're letting you get your thoughts across. What else do you want? Maybe if you come bless our show, maybe you will help build us into a Vlad instead of y'all keep going to the same person that y'all claim y'all don't like. That's why I don't have a lot of respect for a lot of people left in the business. They full of shit. They full of crap. And the only time they really want to be black and keep it real is when they feel like they don't have nobody else to go to. I mean, that's why I give Monique the benefit of the doubt, because I know she's tired, because I know the BS. Black people are full of shit, especially when they think they made it. Look at when Obama made it into office. Negroes thought, "Oh, we done made it now." So, but when Trump get in office, when Trump get in office and remind y'all Negroes that y'all still Negroes, then now y'all want to say, "Oh, I'm black." It always takes for somebody to get shot that's black for Negroes to wake up, and the rest of us who see this atrocities going on 24/7. we don't have to have another person get shot to understand what's going on, because we know it. Our parents told us, our grandparents told us. We see the writings on the wall. We waiting on the rest of y'all to catch up. And I'm getting passionate about it because it's very tiring. And it's not gonna get any better because y'all sleeping in the same bed with your enemy, and you think it's all Kuna Matata, and it's not. But you keep on loving what you love, but it ain't doing nothing but leading us down a wide road to destruction.
Yeah, I want to say something about Monique, because I'm not going to throw her under the bus, because I remember I met Monique back in 2008 during the 40th anniversary commemoration of Dr. King's death in Memphis. And she was emceeing an event at the Peabody Hotel that was honoring Cicely Tyson and Marilee Evers, the widow of Medgar Evers, and also the brother who founded Black Enterprise magazine, I think Earl Graves. And I had a chance to interact with her. She was down to earth. She ain't putting on airs or nothing like that. A picture together. And you could tell that she had a lot of respect for our elders and for our history and for our suffering. And the thing about it is that one thing about Keenan Wayans, he knew he needed a group with him. He brought his family. Everybody needs a gang to be a part of. Everybody. That's one mistake Dr. Bill Cosby made. He didn't want to be in part of nobody's gang. Yeah, everybody need a gang to get something, to gain something. You make it as a people. Because Dr. King said, we as a people will get to the mountaintop. Yeah, I seen it, but we got to get there together. And when I say we, I don't mean all of us either. I'm not all about that kumbaya crap. Because white folks don't get along. When white folks do white on white crime, it's called world wars.
Ron, they don't get along, but you better believe it. They're gonna take up for each other, though. They're gonna
come against you.
Just like Gavin wrote in his book. Wasn't it you, Gavin, who said one time they wrote about Bill Cosby? No, one time, what's the white guy who slept with his daughter, the director? You said
about Woody Allen.
Yeah, Woody Allen daughter came out
Woody Allen,
and then the next day the media made sure they brought Bill Cosby back into the news cycle. See, white folks, the difference between white folks and black folks is white folks gonna stick up for their folks even when they don't like them.
They switch the narrative.
Well, you know what that
but was. Not black folks, not black people.
We'll stick up for white people like Joe Biden, but not for ourselves. If you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black. Well, I'll be swell, so I'm gonna vote Democrat twice on Sundays too. I know my problem. I can't talk to old people. I don't call them elders. I call them olders. I can't stand them because they can't tell me a good reason to hate Trump. Because Trump came to Memphis, South Haven yesterday. Every time I bring up name Trump, black elders lose their mind. Oh Lord, Trump gonna kill everybody. That boy crazy. I said, name me one crazy thing that he did to make you
set us back to slavery.
Name nothing.
Oh, Negro.
Ain't name nothing. But
I love Trump today. I love Trump.
Yeah. Well, I tell him everything Biden y'all necks. Yeah, but I tell him everything Biden said. If Trump did what Biden did over his career as a politician, yeah, you should hate Trump. But y'all love y'all oppressor. Y'all love master. We sick, boss. We sick. We tired. You know, see, our people, and they got the nerve to have kids and grandkids and great grands. You got the nerve to reproduce your cowardice for generations. Die. I'm just joking.
Survival of the fittest,
bro. Black folks, black men, though, they older black men are some big cowards, man. Yeah. They are some of the biggest cowards on older black males. They're some of the biggest cowards.
Even if you read the Bible, God got frustrated with the Israelites and told Moses, he said, look, their children and grandchildren will see the promised land, but they're not. He said that generation had to die off. He was frustrated. All the stuff I did for you to get out of Egypt, from the parting the Red Sea, giving you the 10 Commandments, and you still complaining and griping like I haven't done anything. He got frustrated. He said, no. Some old Negroes, I could say, this generation that we have, and you point out, and we're talking about this, is not only cowards, but they emasculated. We have some of our younger generation are emasculated as a result of it. That's why they're raising. I'm not saying anything's wrong with being raised by a single woman or anything like that, but there's also some balance that's needed in children's lives. They need that, like it's Father's Day. A boy needs his mother and his father, but he needs a father, importantly, because a person of the same sex that can guide him and let him know what it's like to be a man and what's needed and expected of you. And we don't have that these days. That's why these kids are walking around with their pants hanging off their ass. You have, like, I live in New Orleans, Ron. We had a breakout. Do you know we had a juvenile prison breakout a couple of days ago? Full juveniles broke out the juvenile hall. Security wasn't even paying attention. Meanwhile, our TD is going to rap concerts, getting in fights in the bathroom stalls and stuff. Just, I don't know, but Mayor Cantrell.
What do you call it, Ron? You know the history. What's the word when the slaves, the slave master knew that the slaves were going to turn on each other? What was that called back in the day?
What are you talking about? People like the phenomenon, like or divide and conquer, Willie Lynch, or
Willie Lynch. It's the same thing going on today. Negroes more concerned with who dark and who light, and light skinned women doing this and dark skinned, like, I mean, who cares? Y'all being treated like niggas. Like, who cares if you light or if you're dark? Who cares? Yeah, they know we're gonna act like crabs in a barrel and nothing's gonna get done.
Hey.
What is like politics? It's like
you black, we light skin or dark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it don't matter if you light skin or dark skin, nigga. When you get pulled over by the police, you're black.
Right.
Tiger Woods found that out clearly.
Oh yeah, but you know, it's like
I'm kind of delayed.
No, that's okay. But it's like with voting though. Voting is the least important electoral tool in the political tool belt. It's the least important because the Ukrainians could get 40 billion without voting. Israel could get 40 billion without voting. Illegal immigrants could get hundreds of millions without voting. But black folks vote all the time and we get nothing but excuses. Wait your turn. Been waiting for 400 years now. We fought in every war. We done built the country, gave y'all cultural identity, gave y'all food and music and all type of good times. So when's going to be our turn? But you got no black leadership in the electoral college, in the electoral vote. It's a popularity contest, and then they don't count your vote, or they count it a certain way. Because I know when I voted in the Democratic primaries here in Shelby County several weeks ago, I did a write-in vote. I wrote in Judge Joe Brown for juvenile court clerk, not juvenile court, criminal court clerk. And he's way more qualified than that. When I looked at the local news, there is no percentage of write-in candidates on the results screen. So they let you know. And then we got a Republican DA that send black folks to jail for years. And you trying to tell me that majority of black cities still voting for this DA who's a so-called Republic crip?
Right.
You know, but you got these pastors. They tell people to vote. You know, I remember I heard a state representative last year at a black event. He told us, "Look, man, we can't do nothing for y'all in Nashville. Y'all on your own. Just pray to Jesus." I said, "Why are we standing hours in line getting heat stroke to vote for your sorry ass for all these years?" But he basically told you can't do nothing. My thing is, you look at black masculinity is the threat to white supremacy. That's the remedy to white supremacy is black masculinity. Because the last time we had a true black leader, like a strong black men, they are willing to put their life on the line for what they want. That's how we got the right to vote, because black men, U.S. colored troops, killing white folks who try to stop them from being free. That's why them white folks were killing them black folks there for a pillow. Because I dare you raise up against us to fight for yourself, be willing to die for the right to exist as a man. It's something about black manhood that scares the hell out of black people in general. It's something about
all the guys that kill each other every week in like the one in Chicago. If they
a lot of them effeminate though. They like raised by single black mothers and all this stuff about the system.
But what I'm saying, if they're gonna lose their life at an early age anyway, it would be awesome if they can put that fight into standing up for black men and black people. If you're gonna die young anyway, won't you change your fight into something that's actually worth dying for, instead of trying to die for your block that you don't own?
But where are the black men, the elders that got that type of backbone? We don't got no real black men that can stand up and help you guys get rites of passage to be men. Because even with Jack Johnson, who passed away on June 10th, 1946, Jack Johnson, you trying to tell me a Negro, when all you Negroes getting killed, all y'all towns are getting burned out, y'all getting lynched, this Negro was sleeping with white women in Georgia? He was speeding through Georgia, going over 100 miles. That dude existed when y'all was scared. I love Jack Johnson. He married 2 black women. His sisters, he couldn't conquer them. He had to go to white women. But he was married to a black woman before, one or twice. But Jack Johnson,
OJ.
we're still afraid of Jack Johnson. We're afraid of Malcolm X. We're afraid of Khalid Muhammad. Yeah.
OJ was married to a black woman too.
Yeah, Marguerite from the hood. Yeah, but OJ daddy was a cross dresser, like Marvin Gaye daddy was.
Yeah.
OJ daddy used to wear dresses too, and but my thing is this though, with us as a people, with Cosby, his biggest mistake is going it alone by himself. Because even with Marion Barry, they tried to destroy Marion Barry. The hood always had Marion Barry back.
Right.
Marion Barry is from Memphis. He's from Booker T. Washington High School by way of it had been in Mississippi. But when Marion Barry was smoking crack, well, if y'all want to call him, them black folks stood with Marion. Black folks had his back in D.C.
Right. They had his back because Marion Barry gave tangibles out to D.C. to black people. They hated him for it. He actually stood up for black people. Specifically, that's why they reelected him. They didn't, even after that stuff he was going through. And by the way, I saw your interview with the brother who knew Marion Barry talking about how he was entrapped, which I spoke to even his lawyer once, Mary Cox, and she even talked about how the government really entrapped.
They wanted to kill him that night. They didn't just want to entrap. They were trying to kill him that night.
Right.
Because they put out a press release trying to discredit his character to different embassies throughout the world.
Right.
Marion Barry, what he did was he wanted to continue the movement work. He said, I can't get no word that's going out Mississippi trying to register black folks to vote. I want to do it big. Marion Barry was a genius, man. You understand? He had a brilliant, not only was a political mind, but a scientific mind. He was on his way to getting a PhD, I believe, either in chemistry or biology, just a couple credits short at University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Decided to go into the movement full time, became the first chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. This is before John Lewis and them. And before Stokely broke it up and all them. But Mary saw politics as a way to continue the movement, to give black folks their rights, because when you help black people, you're really providing a blueprint for everybody to be empowered. It's like all the gays and the women.
That's how everybody else
in the 60s and you put it on in.
But if black people keep getting power and giving it away to white people, then what's going to be the point? Like, you know, LeBron James' son took the white girl to the prom and everybody telling everybody to leave him alone because he a kid. He's not really a kid. He's going to be 18 soon, and it's time for him to realize the ways of the world and how that looks. Yeah, you can take anybody you want to the prom, but when we're talking about of people who need wealth in their for their people, we won't ever get it if the black man and the black woman keep having mixed babies and making a lineage of white people, because over time, as the guests who've been on my show have talked about the breakdown of DNA and that the white people are losing numbers, they're slowly dying out, but their people understand that they must mate with the dominant race, which is our genes, in order to survive. But see, we too concerned with I'm in love and oh, I love that P word and I love that D, that we stop thinking about all these other things, because a lot of us are just living for fun. We aren't living in a spiritual world where we understand that it is things that we cannot see that are against us. This thing is not only a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing that we are under. And until people start looking outside the box, it just simply will not get any better.
That's right. And really what it goes down to is Dr. Bobby Wright. Y'all need to look up Dr. Bobby Wright. He was Fred Hampton's teacher back in the day in Chicago. He, before Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, I mean, he wasn't before they were peers, but he died unusually young. I say on the questionable circumstances, but there's a thing he did at a college down south in Atlanta back in 1980 or somewhere thereabouts. And he was trying to tell Fred Hampton and them, look, you don't have to get with these white radical people. They're going to undermine your movement. You know, and Fred died at 21, but Fred was brilliant. But the feds knew who Fred was since he was 14. They wiretapped his folks' home phones. And, you know, his mom used to babysit Emmett Till. So they were neighbors. But he was trying to tell Fred, y'all don't need to get with these white communist folks. They got another agenda that's not about black life. And, you know, he said you got to eliminate whiteness from the planet. This idea of whiteness, because whiteness is not a color, it's an attitude, like Baba Dick Gregory would say. If you don't have enough trillions of dollars in the bank, you can't be white. So a lot of white folks find out they ain't white. They're not really.
Well, Resma Menakem, who came on my show, who's a New York Times best-selling author and a healer and a master coach, he said that the race classifications were made to classify what was the standard. White people made whiteness to be a standard. And they looked at black people as they were animals. So you have to remember that white people came from a whole nother place. And why did they come from that place? Because they were victims of abuse and rape and all sorts of stuff. So when they came here to the United States, they were people running away from something, and they brought their own trauma and their demons with them. And what Dr. Resma Menakem was saying is that white bodies have to start dealing with their own issues, which they don't do ever. It's always what black people need to do. But I just want to bring that up because I think that goes with what you were kind of saying, Ron.
Oh yeah, because like
keep that in our mind.
Yeah, it's definitely true because I mean, even over 100 years ago, Irish and Italians and Jews were not considered white. They had to earn their way in. They organized their way in. They controlled the police and fire departments on the East Coast. Like the Irish controlled the police, Italians and stuff. Fire stations. Frank Sinatra there was in the firehouse up in Jersey and stuff, and got mob connections. But
that's what the movie Gangs of New York was about.
Yeah, it's about you get in, but black folks try to do that. They keep us permanent underclass. It's like what Chris Rock said. He said black people with jerry curls made the black family with jerry curls down in Mississippi made cigarettes to be illegal like an MFer. They have a cigarette. If black folks made cigarettes, it would be illegal.
Yeah, it's called weed. It's called weed. The
war against us on the weed thing. Fab Five Freddy did a great documentary about that on Netflix. And it came out around the same time as Central Park 5. But I met Fab Five Freddy in his brownstone around December 2013. I was friends with Michael Holman, who's John Michelle, one of his best friends in the band, Gray with him. And also he did the first hip hop TV show in history called City Rock that featured Ron DMC and Kumo D and some other people. So this is my friend. He took me to Five Freddy Brownstone in Sugar Hill. We looking at this documentary called Mustard Shoals about this music studio down in Alabama that produced for Aretha Franklin and the Allman Brothers, all these people. And we just having these crazy conversations about stuff. And I'll get a contact high. Hey, I couldn't help it. I ain't want nothing. I had to get it. Okay. But you just talk about how powerful being a black masculinity is, because I told Fab Five Freddy, whose godfather is Max Roach, one of the greatest drummers of all time of any genre. I told him that, that Ho Chi Minh, who led the Northern Vietcong resistance, he used to live in Harlem. He used to come to Harlem to hear Marcus Garvey speak. He said, "That's you true? You saying the truth?" I said, "Yeah." He looked at us and said, "Oh yeah, you telling the truth." Think about how powerful a black man had over somebody like Ho Chi Minh. He knew who that black man was, and then it helped him to defeat the United States decades later. Because Ho Chi Minh wanted to meet with Woodrow Wilson in Paris, but Woodrow Wilson would not meet with Ho Chi Minh. And he was a great admirer of our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence. So, you think about the power of black masculinity when we stand up, even though they may cut us before we reach our prime. It's like a universal thing because everybody come out of black. Everybody come out of us. So we the parents of humanity. But when we allow our children to run crazy in the grocery store, then who's to blame, the children or the parent? Because we forgot we knew who we were. You know what I'm saying? Like you think about country music. People talking about how can we get black folks in country music? We invented country music. The banjo was invented by black people. Hank Williams Sr.'s his mentor was Rufus Payne, known as T-Top. He was hired by his mom. This black man could play multiple instruments, how to play the guitar and how to sing. And he acknowledged it before he died at the age of 29. But they got a big monument in the front entrance of Lincoln Cemetery outside of Montgomery. Because they can't find where T-Top been buried in the cemetery. He died during the Great Depression. But the Grand Ole Opry and Hank Williams Jr., the son of Hank Williams Sr., raised the money to dedicate that monument to T-Top. And Hank Williams Jr. did a song on it. But I'm saying everything comes to us. Everything comes to black. And the most skilled class of people, like they always try to put down black people. But you had the most literate group of people outside 20 years after the Civil War was black people. We just came out of slavery and we the most literate, most educated group in the country. One of the most literate, most educated. They formed unions to stop skilled black men from having jobs. That's why they formed unions, to stop the most skilled and most educated group of people in America from having anything. They started the U.S. Patent Office to keep black folks from owning their invention. Eli Whitney did not invent no damn cotton gin, that lady cracker. He didn't invent that. It was a black person trying to make their job easy to hit the cotton gin. you a business to make your life easy. And you a privileged white boy. What the hell you know about some cotton gin and cotton picking?
It's like the woman who Popeyes. Al Copeland got that recipe from a black woman.
Exactly, I believe that. I have no problem believing that.
But I mean, I think he took care of her. But I mean, she could be a multi-billionaire. Just think, if she could have mastered and marketed that, Popeyes is known all over the world.
Yeah, but they probably killed her before she got into the market. You know what I'm saying? This is warfare with these people. These people are savages, man. Like, I be hearing black folks. I was at a panel discussion. These got these young black guys. They got a black organization to help black boys. They said, what the elders want to give us, they won't pass the torch. They won't give us nothing, man. They won't pass it. I said, y'all love them gangster movies, don't you? You take what you want in America. You kill for what you want. You killed the folks that trained you to get what you want. You know, like the mob boss always train their replacements where they start at. They the driver. So they take them around town and learn how the things go. And one day, you know, he double crossed his boss, but I love to see it coming from one of my own that I trained than the outsider. I would rather have one of my own betray me that I trained take over than have an outsider take over. It's like in that scene of the party where Jack Nicholson opened up about the busing, the forced busing thing. He said, you know, the problem with the blacks is that everybody took what they want. Y'all just praying and crying and begging the devil for more mercy when the devil only qualified to give you more hell. Oh, it's so hot, Lord. Devil, please, Lucifer, please have mercy. I don't know what that is, but I can give you more hell.
Well, that's my point, Ron. Why keep getting in bed with the devil and then expecting different results?
Exactly.
You ain't gonna get them. Gavin, I wanted to know what made you want to write this book? What made you want to step out and put these words together? Because the way you wrote it, I can tell you were very passionate about it. It's a very easy read to get through. And at the time, with so many people not wanting to take a stand, what made you want to use your voice and pen something?
Well, when this started, which was back, I want to say I started working on it roughly like the end of 2018, start of 2019. And I knew I had to put it from a position where everybody is not trained up or understands legal language or legalese, why we have due process, why we have the presumption of innocence in America. And I felt it was necessary to explain why it was needed and necessary. But I did not like what transpired, long story short, into that trial. The fact that you had a judge that was allowing a circus essentially outside the courtroom in view of the jury, you know, women jumping out of the bushes with their titties hanging out, like that girl who was in the Cosby show, actually. She was a friend who had her breast painted. Yeah, things of that nature. The judge was allowing one of the witnesses to make outbursts, to make statements. You know, there was alleged, you know, the one lady, and I talk about her in the book, Shalana Lasha. She's the black woman, that light-skinned black woman that's always crying all the time. If you've seen her, she actually told Bill Cosby, "You remember me, don't you, Mr. Cosby?" on the witness stand, which should have been grounds for a mistrial. The judge let that go on. There was another woman who said, "I wanted to see a convicted rapist. I want to see a rapist get punished." That should have been a mistrial as well, because Bill Cosby's not on trial for rape. He was on trial for basically the groping charge. The district attorney campaigning on getting Bill Cosby. All the stuff I was just seeing, I saw this dog pile on this man. And, you know, I feared for especially the younger black men who go into that courtroom, who don't have the monies like Bill and resources like Bill Cosby has. Bill Cosby can afford a Tom Mesereau. Pookie and Ray Ray likely can't.
Right.
Now, that's not a knock against public defenders, because I am one. I've done that. We work very hard. But you go in that courtroom and you have a judge that stacks the deck. This is my thing. You did it against Bill Cosby, a celebrity. You stacked the deck essentially by allowing all of these women to come testify, having Gloria Allred present at the trial. There was also an issue allegedly during voir dire where a juror actually said, and we don't know if it was true or not, he made the statement, "We can all go home, we know he's guilty." The judge did a conference with him, Tom Mesereau, and the DA. He asked him, "Did you say this?" His response was, "I don't recall saying it." the judge let him still stay on. And he could have actually been dismissed for cause if the judge believed that. But the long story short, I wanted to have that. And by the way, too, the judge's wife, it's been noted and alleged that she was working with some of the protesters that were outside the Cosby trial because her name is Deborah O'Neill. She's actually a sexual assault counselor. So that was another issue. They actually raised that up during the trial, before the trial, to have the judge recused. He denied the motion. He just said, no, I'm not going to do it. So I think, long story short, I wanted people to understand why we have a judicial process, why we have the presumption of innocence. That came from a court case versus Coffin versus the United States. It was a Supreme Court decision. And they decide that the burden is always going to be on the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt a crime had taken place. If you note, too, I used examples of other celebrities or non-celebrities. Fatty Arbuckle is one. Fatty Arbuckle was a white boy who was a comedian who was accused of rape and manslaughter. And it was basically a media onslaught, what they did to him, that ruined his career effectively in Hollywood. Sam Shepard, Dr. Sam Shepard, who was accused of murdering his wife. Allegedly, he's the basis of the TV series The Fugitive. His attorney, by the way, was F. Lee Bailey, his appellate attorney, who F. Lee Bailey, represented O.J. Simpson and Patty Hearst. So I wanted to bring those up as well to point out that while there's a racial element involved with Dr. Cosby, there's also this media hype that's part in sensationalism that also fuels these trials. You're muted, Kira.
I was just going to say, guys, make sure you check out Gavin's book. He did a nice job summating and just putting everything together about what's been going on with Bill Cosby and the justice system. So good job there. Like I said, a very easy read. I don't know if the right word to use is entertaining, but I enjoyed it thoroughly going through a lot of the notes in the book.
Thank you very much, baby. I appreciate it. There's over 230 references roughly that I had to do. And writing nonfiction is not easy, especially when you're doing your research on something like this. So this took a lot of time and effort to do, but I was grateful to do it. And, I had to change everything once Bill Cosby was released from prison.
Wow.
Because it was written in the past, currently while he's locked up. And as I'm really just about finished with the book, I finished my first draft with it. Then, we're breaking news. Supreme Court of Pennsylvania announces Bill Cosby is released from prison. His due process rights were violated. The agreement with the original prosecutor, Bruce Castro, should stand. So it's like, oh, damn. So I had to rewrite and rework it, which I was, I did. It was worth it, though, in doing that, because, like I said, again, we wanted to bring this out to the people and bring it out so that people can have an understanding of why these things took place. And what I see is emotionalism, essentially. We talked about it earlier, even in the reporting. I mean, we knew Mark Lamont Hill, I call him Mark Lamont Hill, was going to act the way he did. And you saw Judge Joe Brown dance circles around him in that interview he did. You had no due process, and that's Dr. Cosby. You do all this sissified, punked out bullshit talking about this man because you got to man up and do some training. But that's sexual assault, Judge. But Judge. Oh, shut up, you punk little bitch, talking like this.
That's a good impersonation.
They were groupies. You heard of sex, drugs, and rock and roll? I know. I did the impersonation in front of him. I do it all the time. Him and Charles Barkley. He liked it. He didn't come through the screen and slap me.
That's hilarious.
Thank you very much, Kira. I'm glad you liked it.
Wait, did you do Charles Barkley? He saw you do his impersonation?
He didn't. I do Charles Barkley all the time, because personally, I just feel like the Lakers, they can't do nothing without street clothes, Ernie. It's just simple to do Charles Barkley. He just a knucklehead that sit there on TNT all the time, mispronouncing everybody's name. Steph Curry, he gonna get his 34 points. Draymond Green, that's a foul. I don't care if it's Michael Jordan. Foul.
Charles Barkley is supposed to be eating horse shit because he
Yeah,
said
I was gonna say, yeah.
he said the Warriors wouldn't win. So,
They shouldn't have won. They shouldn't have won. That's the whole point. I don't know what happened with Boston. They just had a total collapse. You the number one defense in the league, and
they gave up.
I don't know if they gave the turnovers was the MVP. It wasn't Steph Curry, it was the turnovers.
That's what Mark Jackson just made a statement and said, and people writing headlines saying that Mark Jackson is shading Steph Curry because he said that Steph should thank the Boston Celtics defense. But to me, that's not shade. If that's the truth, that's the truth. But I'm a Warrior. I like the Warriors because I like Steph Curry. So hey,
they were saying the Boston Celtics. So it wasn't their defense; it was their turnovers. That's my God. It was like worse than the Atlanta Falcons collapsing against the Patriots. See, the Golden State Warriors are the Patriots of the NBA because you look at they had that great regular season run several years ago, and they lost the biggest games that count. They lost the finals, like when New England ran 2007, 2008. They undefeated. If they had won that Super Bowl against the Giants, Eli and the Miracles, they could have been the greatest football team of all time. And I think they still hunts them by them losing like that. They're regular, the Golden State, because Steve Curry is Bill Belichick and Steph Curry is Tom Brady because you never saw him coming. Nobody saw Tom Brady coming. Nobody saw Steph Curry coming. And he's in the top 10. You can't deny him now. He's a top all-time great.
One of the greatest shooters of all time. But look, they gave, when I say they gave up, anytime you go if you're going into the paint and you're attacking the goal and your instinct is to pass the ball instead of actually doing a layup or actually slam dunk, that's a problem. They were up 12 points. They were up 20 points early on. You started with momentum. Even in the game 2, remember they won game 1 and shocked everybody. They went in that game 2, and the announcers were even saying, well, they succeeded in one thing. They got one. They said, let's just go on and get out of here. No, you got to go in there and attack. If you want something, you got to, like we're talking about, if you really want the title, you got to take it. You can't play for no game 3. I'm going to go back and wait till we get home to win. No, that's not how they did it in the 80s with the Lakers and Celtics.
And that's not how black people are going to do it. If y'all want to win a chip, you can't wait until another Negro gets shot and then it's on white media. You got to continue to do it every single day. When you go into your job, no matter what it is, you got to stand on the side of what's right and stop acting like you don't see stuff that go on. Black people have to continuously know that this is the finals. I'm just bringing it all in, baby. I'm trying to put a bow on it.
Yeah, we say every day is game 7. Every day is game 7.
Yeah.
Every day is a game 7. That's life. And life is a game. Life is sport. And you got winners, you got losers. Everybody get a participation trophy. It don't work like that. You got winners and losers. But you look at, I remember Steph Curry's wife some years ago. She said the game was rigged when he's unanimous MVP. He's the only unanimous MVP in league history. Not Michael Jordan, but Steph Curry. But she said the game was rigged when they lost against LeBron and them. When LeBron them came back with 3-1, they were down 1, and down 3 games to 1, and they came back. It was amazing. But it's this theater because at this point you had a referee scandal in the NBA some years ago. Because I can remember when the great Tim Duncan complained about how he was being called, and folks thought he was whining, but to come out, the refs were controlling the tempo of the games. They were, the way they called or didn't call certain things, control the outcome of the game. So all these games are rigged, to me to a certain degree, but not necessarily by the players. But let me ask y'all this, since we're talking about Steph Curry and now, I want to show this if y'all agree with this assessment. I read this yesterday. Let me see if I can find it. And thank y'all for listening to We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. So this is the ranking of the 15 greatest NBA players of all time.
I disagree, Ron, already.
Are you agree? Well, you got Michael Jordan number 1 and tier 1 by himself. You got LeBron and Kareem and Magic and Kobe on tier 2. Tier 3 is Shaq, Tim Duncan, Larry Bird, Bill Russell, Steph Curry, top 10. Then the last 5 is on tier 4 is Hakeem Olajuwon, Wilt Chamberlain, Kevin Durant. Then the last 2 is Oscar Robertson and Jerry West. Yes or no?
I could see that.
You always gonna, even though he be cooning now, you always gonna find Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in my top list. You always gonna find Michael Jordan. You gonna find Shaq there, just too dominant. And I didn't even like the Lakers.
I was all about Lakers in 2000. Go ahead.
And it's some Celtic players. Bill Russell, he's up there.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely should be up there. Magic definitely should be up there. I think more for me is the moving around of people. Like, you know what I'm saying? I have a problem that on a lot of these charts, you just have to win a championship. I think there should be another top 10 for players who could just play. Because like for my top 10, I'm gonna put Iverson in there. I'm just gonna do it. He didn't win a championship, but that man, I remember one year he had literally over 10 injuries and he was still out on the court playing, and not playing like a buster. He was out there really scoring, really doing stuff, still crossing people over. So I don't know.
I mean, one of my greatest of all time, he only won 1 ring, and that was Clyde Drexler.
Yeah, Clyde
Drexler. I could see this list. I don't know if I would, and this may be controversial, I don't know if I would put LeBron necessarily in tier 2.
Okay, why? I'm curious now.
I don't know, just because, just as of late, like, it's really the team hopping for me. Like, he went from team to team and went to get this dude and that dude. That's kind of the way that's just the thing for me. I would say he's a top 10, yeah, but would I put him like right below Jordan? No. Kobe probably could go right before Jordan.
LeBron, I don't like the flopping, man. Like LeBron is a beast, but to see a grown man that big, like just literally fall like a feather, like, and he don't even be touched, that bothers my spirit. Because I played basketball in school. I didn't play in college, but I was definitely a tough forward and center. You better ask somebody if you don't believe me. I used to knock girls down, and so I can't go for no dude that big that just gonna fall to the ground. There are other ways to get that foul called instead of looking like a feather. I'm sorry, but I don't know. Just no, I'm sorry. Move around.
No, but I think LeBron belongs to the top 5. I have no problem with LeBron. LeBron changed the game. People ain't gonna really appreciate what he's done until years after he retired. It's unfortunate, but Kareem, he about to pass Kareem next year for all-time scoring.
You would put him below Jordan? LeBron. Where would you put him if he's your top 5?
Somewhere below Jordan. Anywhere. I think they got it right for the most part. I'll question Jerry West, actually. He was 1-8 in the finals. You talking about LeBron, he was 1-8, but he did win a finals MVP when he was on the losing team. He scored over 37 points per game in the finals, and he lost, and they still gave him the MVP, which was interesting. I mean, they could have gave Jimmy Butler the Eastern Conference MVP then. If that's the case, they lost against the Celtics, but I think for the most part, they got it right. I think they got it right for the most part. Tim Duncan definitely belongs in there.
Oh, Tim Duncan. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Greatest power forward.
But no Dr. J.
Yeah, I would put Dr. J. I could actually live without Kobe in the top 10.
Nah.
That's a punk move.
I would tie Kobe with Dr. J. I met Dr. J before. He was a cool guy. You know, him and Cosby used to own a Coca-Cola bottling plant together outside of Philly.
Yeah.
And he lost his son under questionable circumstances. You know, his son got killed or died. They found him in the bottom of a retention pool. And he was missing because, you know, he was at a family party, went to the store to either get some bread or drink or something like that. And somehow his car drove into a retention pool where there was security at. And they didn't find his body until months later at the bottom of the pond. So, I mean, both Dr. J and Cosby, business partners, lose their sons in crazy ways.
Yeah, Dr. Cosby losing his only son. We talk about that in the book. By the way, one of the accusers, and I will mention this in the book, her name is Sean Brown. She was the first woman Bill Cosby actually mentioned publicly back in the 90s that he had an affair with. Her daughter is Autumn Jackson. Autumn Jackson is the girl who tried to extort Bill Cosby back in not long. It was like that same week when she got arrested when Enos was murdered.
Yeah, I remember that.
She got arrested for extortion on Bill Cosby because she wanted, I believe, like $40 million before she was going to go to the National Enquirer, and she faxed the demand over to Cosby and his team. If she had an attorney, it was interesting. She had an attorney do it. It would have been legal because attorneys can negotiate for clients. Right. But by her doing that via fax, she got sent up. She was convicted, but it wasn't just her that was convicted. Her boyfriend, who became her husband, and two other individuals who were from Ukraine, Russia, were convicted as well. By the way, and Enos Cosby is supposedly murdered by this Ukrainian Russian guy. And by the way, I know Baba Dick Gregory, and you knew Ron, you knew Dick Gregory well. You did an interview with him. He said supposedly that guy didn't do it or something like that. But we do talk about it because a lot of people have even felt that was interesting how Enos was killed around the time Bill Cosby, was trying to acquire the National Broadcasting Company. And he tried multiple times to do it. And we mention this in the book as well. But yeah, this was a man who had business venture. He was business minded. He had business ventures, not just trying to buy NBC, but also the Cleveland Browns. Just like Michael Jackson, a lot of people don't know this, Ron. When Michael's allegations started, he tried to acquire Marvel Comics with Stan Lee. And even in 2002, when the second round of allegations started, Mike was trying to buy Universal Studios. So just think, if he has the Beatles catalog, he has his own music catalog. If he had acquired Marvel Comics and the rights to Universal Studios, like an Incredible Hulk, E.T., Jaws, Close Encounters, all the stuff Spielberg did, Jurassic Park, he would have been a trillionaire. There been nothing he couldn't buy on earth if he had acquired all of that.
And that's why he couldn't acquire it. They will never acquire it. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything is warfare with these people, even stuff that you create your own. Like I said, you got patents that white folks filed for that wasn't created by them, inventions that were not created by them. You look at Thomas Edison, he had a bunch of black people working for him. Then Louis Latimer put the filament in the light bulb. He also designed the first telephone for Alexander Graham Bell. He came out he's the son of a former slaves out of DC area, I believe. But I'm saying, we keep on thinking that everything's supposed to be fair. When black folks talking about being on code, we the type of people, we'll give everybody a raise except our people. We try to be fair to everybody. Ain't nobody playing fair. Life ain't built on fairness. It's built on what you can get away with. It's like Joe Kennedy, the patriarch of the Kennedy family, said. It said, it's only a crime if you get caught. It's only a crime if you get caught. Behind every great wealth, there's a great crime. That was Lucky Luciano said. Behind every great wealth, there's a great crime. So black folks always trying to do things the right way. The biggest number of lynching victims in this country were black business people.
Well,
they kill black business people.
Like in Gavin's book, he brings up not only the NAACP, but he brings up the Black Greek fraternities. And my assessment of fraternities and sororities, and I know they do a lot of good. I love the stepping and everything, but Negroes are great at entertainment. So, okay, whatever. But the reason why I don't get down with a lot of them and care to join is because it seems like they only looking out for people who are in the organization, and I don't know that history, so I'm not trying to get any feedback, like no pushback from people and be called names. I'm sure they do stuff for the community, but when it comes to cases like you said in this book about the Cosby trial, and he's donated so much money to these HBCUs, you guys stay silent. Then what's the point of having black people organized in that kind of situation if they're not going to ever stand out on anything that we really need their voice upon? I just don't see what's the point then. You only going to help those that's inside your organization. Then what is that? That's just a game.
Well, remember, I point this out in the book too, but remember what we said earlier, Kara, corporations. A lot of those fraternities and sororities, they're getting money from Fortune 500 companies. If you remember back, and let me say this, it's not, what I put in there was not a diss towards sororities and fraternities, but I was just calling them out on the fact that, and I have family members, I got friends, colleagues, fellow attorneys who are Alpha Phi Alpha or Alpha Kappa Alpha or Omega Psi Phi. I know a lot of Q dogs. I know a lot of ice cold buddies.
But that's my point. We shouldn't have to say that, though. We shouldn't have to give this disclaimer. Either it's a fact or it isn't. Like, either they doing their job or they're not doing it. I'm not jumping on you, but I hate that we even have to give disclaimers. Either y'all standing on something or you're not. It's just point blank and simple.
But go back to when Michael Brown was killed. Alpha Phi Alpha paid for his entire funeral and expenses. They even said they let their members wear their Alpha Phi Alpha apparel. They asked for permission. They said, "You don't need our permission. That's what we're there for. You're Dr. King's fraternity. Of course we got to do this. You're Thurgood Marshall's fraternity." So I would dare see if they had done something like that, I would have been there surprised and shocked that they did that. But they didn't. But when you notice the other sororities and fraternities, they were warning, I believe it's Alpha Kappa Alpha, and even the Deltas that warned their members not to wear any apparel and be associated with that. And that's because they have, obviously there's not just trademark issues, but they just didn't want, obviously, to be associated with something like that could affect their bottom line, which is money, ties to these corporations, to sponsors and stuff. They didn't want to do that. But you're a Black sorority, you're a Black fraternity, your members you've had civil rights members in your organization, and you can't do that. And here in a situation with Dr. Cosby, a man who was credited with founding, the Black Stuntmen's Association, having a role in that, and also, obviously, probably the most famous member of Omega Psi Phi. Of course, Jesse Jackson is in it, and I know Steve McNair, Shaq is in it as well. Shaq is an Omega Q Dog, but Bill Cosby, arguably, out of all of those, he's a worldwide figure. Not saying that they aren't, but he's universally known, and they didn't come out as a group or organization just to release a statement. Something's wrong with that. And there's a point to what you're saying. It comes off like they're uppity. A lot of people feel like they look their noses down on people who are not part of their organization.
I wasn't even saying uppity. I'm just saying that what's the point of being a Black organization that's supposed to stand for something if you're not going to help Black people? So you only going to help the Black people that's within the organization, and then obviously you're not helping all of them, because if they get into some kind of crisis, you still not speaking out. I just don't see the point. Even if it's Black people gathering together, if the mission isn't going to be worth a damn, then it ain't. Then what's the point of even gathering? I mean, because it seems to me once money gets in it, once these big corporations get a part of it, then it's being tainted. Black people really will never have a real true voice when you join big media, because they always put stipulations on what you can say and what you can't say. I mean, I get it, because again, Black people don't have any wealth. So that's why when you see LeBron James' son date a white woman, that's why some critics are saying this isn't a good look, because all that work LeBron James did to get out the hood, what if now his whole family now just start making white babies? Then what would have been the point? You leaving no Black legacy. The reason that Black folks can't make it to another level is because we don't have the resources. And when we get in the position to do it, either the white man is going to tear it down, Black Wall Street, or either we're going to give it away. We're going to give it away for free. So it's just like we are our own worst enemies. Are we not?
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. They were saying the same thing about who's the guy that owns Byron Allen. I remember when he was coming out with his lawsuit with CBS, and they were saying some of the same stuff he was saying.
Yeah, he loved white women too. So
that's not even a Black-owned company. He said 100% Black-owned.
Exactly.
His wife is white, and when you die, it's gonna be white.
HBO.
And I don't believe he's a billionaire. That's another story. I don't believe he's a billionaire.
I think he is.
I know he ain't no billionaire.
Yeah.
What about?
What's the point of celebrating Juneteenth when we still locked up? Locked up.
Look at LeBron. You know, look at the standard he set for his son. I mean, that I ain't gonna never forget that couple on Vogue with Tom Brady's wife looking like that.
Right.
And how could you
LeBron
do
is
that?
very image conscious. I thought he was image savvy more than, you know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and let's say if LeBron didn't know what they were doing, okay, after the fact, you had to see this hit the internet. I'm gonna have to say, why would y'all allow me to do this, knowing historically this is what this is the image you were trying to get?
I mean, LeBron to me is like people we worship at the altar of money and not of knowledge of self. A lot of us we worship folks because they got the shiny things. Like I told Bill Cosby publicists, what's the point of having shiny things and nice things you can't really enjoy? What's the point of having all this trickery and distractions? And even with the frats and sororities, you got to look at why they was founded. You got to go back to the founders and who you can't serve two masters. Why they still exist and the Black Panthers don't exist?
Where's Dr. Short? I'm telling you, baby. I got a feeling Black folks ain't gonna be free until we see our Father from heaven, because it's like you can't win for losing, or you can't lose. You know, it's just it's all corrupt. It's all corrupt.
Yeah, but speaking of like Juneteenth and Dr. King holiday, I call these holidays. You know, like Dick Gregory said, if you don't celebrate it, the bank's still closed, so you celebrate. You know, even though you might not agree with the assessment, but with the Juneteenth thing and with the whatever they give us, like I said, they don't give us anything in terms of so-called tangibles that we could actually utilize. I be talking to olders, like yesterday, when the same folks that mad about Trump, I said, what do you think about Black reparations? Think we should get it? Oh man, I think they should not give us money. I said, well, hell, the United States is like almost $30 trillion in debt. They don't pay nobody back. We just
they giving Ukraine another bill.
Right,
somebody sent me an article, Ron. Promise you not. They supposed to be sending those racists in Ukraine some more money. That's why if I catch any of y'all concerned that Biden fell off that bicycle, I'm gonna know something. Because like I said earlier, Biden will not be able to ride a bicycle until he gives reparations. All the spirits have come against him.
They've been approving reparations for L. They're approving reparations now. He's signing a law for people out in New Mexico that were affected by the nuclear testing. They just approved reparations.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I'm a big fan of Johnny Ace. He was a singer from the 50s who shot himself in the head by accident doing a concert down in Houston Christmas night, 1954. He's from Memphis. But he was in the same group with B.B. King and Bobby Blue Bland, the Bill Streeters. He was the first one to make it big. Get him as your headliner. You had to get either B.B. King or Bobby Blue Bland or Little Richard as the opening acts. But I had a chance to talk to his brother before he passed. His brother is St. Clair, Alexander. I ain't gonna never forget. I talked to him on the phone. I said, I want to meet you because I'm doing a story about your brother. It's back in 2009. He said, okay, I'm half a man. I said, you half a man? You a man to me, you a grown man. I went on to that man's home where he stayed with his sister. This man was missing the lower half of his body. He was half a man. I said, what the hell happened to you, dude? I ain't laugh. I was like, what the hell happened? You are half a man. He said,
I probably would have laughed. Just
he told me he would get me ready, right? Because he was missing the lower half of his body. He was missing the half. He said what happened was during the 1950s, he was out in the desert, out there in Vegas or whatever, the desert, and they were doing A-bomb testing. And they were not given the right protective gear. They were given like some old stuff from World War II, like gas masks and other things to protect themselves against the high levels of radiation. After they did all that, dropping bombs and stuff like that, his commanding officer told him that, look, you guys have been exposed to high levels of radiation. Y'all ain't gonna make it to 40. If y'all make it to 40, y'all gonna pass on these effects to your children. So whatever you got from here, from 10, you remember like John Wayne and some other people got cancer. They did the movie about Genghis Khan, they called The Conqueror, and a lot of them died from cancer because they was out there in the desert when they were dropping them bombs out, testing them bombs. So he got this. So he said he started having issues with his legs later on. So they cut off his legs, and I did some investigating. It's a group called A-bomb veterans. These are veterans who applied for a grief because his commanding officer told him that for y'all sacrifice for the country, y'all gonna get a letter, a commendation from President Eisenhower. He never got that letter. That was like decades ago. This is 2009, December of 2009. I'm talking to him. And so I did some research on my own. I found out that he was considered or classified as an A-bomb veteran. These are veterans of the U.S. military who've been exposed to radiation from A-bomb testing, and that the government was doing payouts of like at least $75,000 to $80,000. So I wrote an article on my blog. I contacted my Congressman Cohen, District 9, Steve Cohen, and so I saw him months later. I got sick or whatever. I came back. He said, "Yeah, we got the letter from the congressman. He did confirm that, you know, my brother, this is sister, that he was an A-bomb veteran, but they said they didn't have enough money to pay him. They had no $80,000 to pay this man for his sacrifice because his kids are affected by what he was exposed to. It's like people been exposed to Agent Orange. So I mean,
maybe Eisenhower gave all his money to the UFOs he was talking to.
Maybe he was. Yeah, you know about that story. No, but it said Eisenhower mama was a black woman. She was light-skinned, high yellow black woman. She was Jehovah's Witness. But I mean, you look at pictures of her when she was younger, she like she could be passing. So Eisenhower, they say he got some black, even Jackie O had black roots and stuff. You don't talk about that.
Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, from Macomb, Mississippi. He had some Hoovers from Macomb. It was a woman that did a documentary 20-some years ago and wrote a book about it. She was from Macomb, Mississippi. She was a black Hoover. And it was folks that told her about J. Edgar Hoover being related to them. He said J. Edgar Hoover told them, if y'all ever told about who I really was, I'll kill all y'all. And they believe.
I'm looking at them, boy, on my phone, trying to see the black in them, because you know what? It was a lot of those people that was hiding.
Yeah, you look at younger folks. He like one of the Ford. We got a family called the Ford family. They high yellow black folks. A lot of them say they the bastard children of Boss Crump, who used to run Memphis for decades, powerful political boss. But he like he could have been a Ford back in the day. Like he could have been a Ford. He like a Ford.
That DNA is amazing. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but everybody was passing for a lot of parts. You could pass, but you know, he had a person that was dating Duke Ellington. This sister named Freddie Washington. Look up. She was in the first Imitation of Life. She played a daughter in the first Imitation of Life with Louise Beavers, I think was her mom was the maid. She could pass for white. You look at her, she could pass for white, but she refused to pass for white in Hollywood. They told her if you pass for white, we make you a big star. She said, I'm not going to do that because she was an activist too, and her sister was one of Representative Colin Powell's, not Colin, but Adam Clayton Powell Jr. wives. You know, Adam Clayton Powell Jr. was a great, representative and reverend from Greater Abyssinia up in Harlem, but he was married to her sister. But Duke was dating her, and then one of his trombonists, Lawrence Brown, ended up marrying her.
It does say, Ron, it says that Eisenhower's mother was said to be mixed blood from Africa and mulatto. However, historians and biographers of Eisenhower had documented his parents' German, Swiss, English ancestry and long history in America. But we know they lie, so who knows?
But you had black folks in Europe. What do you think the Moors are? The Moors civilized in Europe. So you had black folks. Black folks had their presence everywhere on the planet.
Oh yeah. Even in Italy, the patron saint in Italy, Saint Maurice, is African.
It's Germany too. Yeah, I know you're talking about Saint Maurice. Yeah.
Remember, even in a movie that Quentin Tarantino did, he wrote this one called True Romance. He didn't direct it. Tony Scott did.
I remember that movie. It's a good movie.
That scene with Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken, and he talks about Sicilians and how he said, your great grandfather was and as an insult to the mafia chieftain. And he said, you still carry that same gene, because he knew he was going to die. But that's the point.
They say that I see an article, and I heard this before, where they saying that Andrew Jackson, dad was black, allegedly. His oldest brother was reportedly sold into slavery. And Thomas Jefferson, Calvin Coolidge, and we always hear about Abe Lincoln having black in him, and then Warren Harding. It's an article from medium.com that says 6 U.S. presidents you most likely didn't know were black ranked.
Yeah, they go Eisenhower mom when she was a young woman and married the Eisenhower father. Look at how she looked.
Yeah, I can see the black in that a little bit. I sure can.
Yeah, she was passing, so Eisenhower knew.
Lou Veins, as D.D. Jones is saying. Wow.
Of life.
But also, read J.A. Rogers about the 6 Negro presidents. J.A. Rogers wrote some great stuff, great historian. They try to discredit J.A. Rogers, but Malcolm X had a lot of respect for J.A. Rogers, but Malcolm didn't know that J.A. Rogers was married to a white woman. I think he came over to his home one day, and J.A. Rogers had his wife hiding in the closet.
Wow.
But Malcolm still respected J.A. Rogers. He had a lot of great information. And he used his own money to fund his research, traveling around the world, researching stuff about Black presence and all the civilization. So check out J.A. Rogers. But Eisenhower mom. If you look at Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, his wife was mulatto looking. And you look at his vice president, Judah P. Benjamin from New Orleans, from Louisiana, who was a U.S. senator, but he was the vice president of the Confederacy. He married an octoroon, a mulatto woman. So what is it about these white supremacists loving white and black meat, dark meat?
That's why I always say their hate starts with love, because a lot of them, they were Negroes.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't like it. Some of them, a lot of them know they got that blood in them. Trust me, they know.
Oh yeah, because even Abraham Lincoln, they got he facing the opposite way on his coin versus everybody else. They faced another way. Abraham Lincoln facing the opposite way. He said, "Kiss my ass. I'm black. Kiss my ass, man."
Right.
But what about the reparation thing? Are we gonna get it? Yay or nay? Can we get it? And what do we need to do to get it?
Biden said he not gonna give it, so it won't be when he in office, will it?
Not with this administration.
No.
I don't think we would. I know California, they passed something where they think there's a study that they're supposed to give it to Black Americans, but all of it is not official yet. And I can just say this much. I don't think we would get it, not only with this administration, but also with this Congress that we have. Mm-hmm. We have the Congressional Caucus. They are terrible. They're not going to do anything for Black folk. Clyburn just got basically he hasn't been reelected, but they essentially have assured him he's coming back as a Democratic candidate. And all of these other Black, these other members of the Congressional Black Caucus that have done nothing, I don't see them pushing for reparations or getting that. Everything we're going to get is a song and dance. But I noticed that they support other groups getting their monies. And that's the insult of the whole thing. You can support all of these other group of people who have not put, we're giving monies to foreigners. We're giving monies to illegal immigrants that are coming into this country illegally. You're approving DACA and so forth, but you can't approve reparations, even if you don't look at it from the slavery aspect. Look at it also after slavery, when you had Jim Crow laws that were put in place, and you had laws that prevented Blacks from voting, grandfather's tax, grandfather clause, poll tax. You had violence that was used by members of the police department that prevented Blacks from voting, yet they were forced to still pay taxes, and they weren't even allowed to pick their representatives. And of course, taxation without representation is the cause of the American Revolution. So even from that standpoint, that wasn't, that should be a case for reparations. But I don't see it happening with this administration. Someone did bring up and point out perhaps Black Americans should try to get reparations from the African countries by saying how your ancestors were traded off by some of the African tribes and so forth, and they benefited from it. That could be one way, but Biden has made it clear he ain't giving you nothing. He even told you, you better work with the Hispanics that come in here because they're going to outnumber you.
And that's why he will never get a vote for me. He won't get nothing from me.
Well, I'll try to explain to the olders. I can call them elders. The olders that the Democratic Party have been the Klan, and Biden is a neo-Dixiecrat. He was trained by the best white supremacists in politics: the Wallaces, the Faubus's, the Robert Byrds, the Strom Thurmonds, the Stennis, and the Eastland. So he was trained. He's their wet dream, and so it's his job to deny us because we love the folks that hate us the most. Black folks are in love with folks that hate them, and that's our biggest issue. If we stop loving the folks that hate us, it will solve a lot of our problems.
And dislike the people that speak up for them. That's
so you hold them accountable. Anybody holds people in general, not just Black people. Anybody that holds you accountable, you hate. Not because they wrong, but because they tell you the truth. You can't handle the truth, like Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth about yourself and your reality. And I ain't never seen the people that won't fight for what they won't get. If you don't fight for what you won't never get it. That's the problem. We fight for everybody else. We fight for this country. We was 5,000 strong with George Washington. He had almost 200,000 U.S. colored troops under Lincoln. We fought in every war for this republic. Even before it became a republic, was in every war. We was the first to die and bleed for this country. But yet, you keep on thinking because you do that for folks that don't care for you, they're going to give you some justice. It's like Richard Pryor says, just us. And we all we got, and we don't learn how to work together and come together and get on the same accord on some things. You can still like the Celtics or the Lakers or the Golden State Warriors. When it comes time for liberation, we should be all on the same page when it comes time to liberate ourselves, because nobody can free you but yourself. Nobody's qualified to free you but you. John Brown raided Harper's Ferry because he knew he wasn't qualified to free the slave, but he wanted to give a slave a choice. Mm-hmm. He wanted them to have a choice. So like my thing is, when you vote Democrat all the time, or you guys, see Democrats and Republicans, Bloods and Crips, GD, Vice Lords, Aryan Nation, Mexican Mafia, all the same game. They all a part of the same bird. And so when you limit your political acumen and ingenuity to voting for a party, then you a damn fool. Because like ain't about party affiliation that they not supporting you. It's about you understanding your own self-interest and what you really need and standing firm on that. We don't really got no strong black men in mainstream. No strong black male voices in mainstream. We don't have
and you one. Won't have one. You won't have one. I think it's people that come on our show and people that come on my show like Marcus Coleman, who's an activist, and you know, I look for these people who are out on the front lines to continue to give me hope, because he's saying, you know, he does see some things getting better. He said at one point people complained that the teens weren't out there. Now the teens out there and they saying they want them to go back in. So he was like, we have to be aware of the progress when it does happen. You know, sometimes we're overcritical, but it's just because we're passionate about it. But at the same time, it's hard for me to see anything getting better, because I guess I've been traumatized into believing that it takes tragedy for Black people to actually to come together. That's just what it seems like to me. It's got to be some kind of moment of singing a Negro spiritual for us to. It's got to be some kind of challenge or some kind of resistance for us to be able to start opening our eyes and realizing what needs to be done. Otherwise, it's just a Hakuna Matata the whole time. So, I mean, I don't know. Do y'all think that you don't get my point in saying that? Because it just seems like nobody cares until something's going on.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin, counselor.
Yeah, I think once something bad happens, once something happens and they feel the effect of it, that's the only time it seems like somebody complains. We're reactionary instead of actionary with various issues in this country, and I think that's why we tend to be dead last in everything. If we would become more proactive as a group, I think we could get more stuff accomplished.
Yeah. Look, I heard more from the Deltas when Kamala said she was a Delta and she had hot sauce in her purse. Yeah, and when Issa Rae put their Delta jacket on the show and they got mad about it, I heard more from them then than I could hear anything else right now. Or I mean, I really don't care who feels wet about it. It's just the truth.
Well, she's an AKA, not a Delta. I think
it was an AKA jacket. That's right. Okay, still the same.
You know, you need 5 me. You need 5 me. I know that already.
Kamala Harris was even an AKA, but yeah, I heard more about her and them when she came out, and really, in truthfulness, she's not the first vice president of color. The first one out, if you remember, was a Native American. Ron knows it, obviously, who the vice president was. That was Native American.
Well, I just want to say, I guess my point in saying that is when stuff go wrong, I didn't hear nothing from the AKAs when she wasn't doing her job. When we don't hear from them about no issues, I didn't hear from them then.
No, you're not gonna hear from them.
Exactly.
They're not gonna hear from
them. Won't they ask for her to do more since she's such a sister? Won't you ask her to do more?
Individuals will speak out of those groups, but not the groups in particular. You know, their leaders, as an organization, say very little about this stuff, just like with Cosby or with any other civil rights issue. That's why they stayed out of it when the protests were going on.
But what's the point? I'd rather join the Crips and the Bloods, because at least I know they're gonna shoot up for me. They're gonna go to the block for me.
Because that's not what they were founded. I mean, in truth, that's not what they were founded for, and they've gotten away from their mission statement. That's not what they're about. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've come to accept. I'm not saying that I condone it, but I've come to accept and understand when stuff goes down. You know who's gonna say something. You know who's not gonna say something. You know those that are gonna put in work and those that aren't. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that. You know, if they didn't want to say anything, like, to get it back to the thing with Cosby, I just wait and see if the facts came out, instead of just jumping out saying it. Wait until you see what was going on. He's entitled to due process. I would have preferred that than just the whole throwing him under the bus. And that's what we saw take place. And this is a man, like I say again, who has put his money where his mouth is. So he's donated. He's actually participated in boycotts. Ron, you brought that up when you spoke with him. Yeah, you know, and he remembered that. So I mean, and I had a chance to speak with him too a few weeks ago. That was after I interviewed Andrew, so that was a pleasure. But it's still funny, even in '84. But you know, that's the type of thing we go through. That's what I understand. So I mean, I'm not looking at the gatekeepers to open doors or do stuff. There are some let's be clear, we know there are individuals who are cool, who actually do want to do things and take stuff. I mean, look, I've had to work with some organizations. I won't name their names, but I wanted some organizations to do some stuff in our community, to do a little bit more, some stuff and circumstances and ideas that we could have. And you couldn't tell some of these olders, as Ron has put it, anything. They won't do that.
Well, I just know that, and I know all my mentors, I guess I can call them mentors, all the people that's smarter than me, all the experts that come on my show, they much better than me, because I'm just telling you, at some point, I'm just going to get sick of these conversations if nobody's going to start opening their mind and actually taking in the information. It's just very tiring when the whole world is against you and you still got the people that's supposed to be helping you push back. They helping the world come against you as well. It's just like somebody got to get some sense somewhere.
Yeah, I accidentally blocked John Williams. I was getting this weird other person. So
yeah, John, I said you better not block John Williams.
No, I'm trying to get him back on. I don't know how to get him back on, but I'll figure it out after the show, I guess. But John always been a great supporter, great state of South Carolina, good brother. Had a little interesting talks outside of the show, so it ain't personal, John. I was trying to get somebody else that kept on putting some hot sex links on. I don't know what they were doing.
John,
it is crazy.
I saw that.
Yeah, I ain't trying to get John. I ain't trying to go on his bad side. So I'm just letting him know for the record. It was an accident. I'm gonna figure it out.
You better
he here now. He's back. John's back. Y'all trying to get me.
There he is. There he is. Okay, John. Okay, I like John. Okay.
Yeah, John a great guy.
John's on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, John is good people. But I mean, the thing about it is, I'm at a point where I'm not trying to save all black people. Some of us got to go. And that's okay. I made my peace with it. I lost a lot of people over the last 3 years, actually. Like sometimes I talk to a person on the phone a month ago, then I wish them happy birthday. They dead. I'm like, what's going on? Why they dead? And these are young and old people, not all related to me, but some dear friends, some I didn't know that well, but I had a lot of respect for, that I actually interviewed. So when you are on your purpose, like I see what I'm supposed to be doing. I can see clearly now what I am doing and what I'm supposed to be doing. And a lot of times I can't put up with the BS no more. I'm getting old. It's like Danny Glover. I'm too old for this shit. You know, I can't do the long talking, the intellectual masturbation points anymore.
What's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? Save your
if they ain't gonna learn nothing, I'm sick of bro. I'm sick of this shit too. I'm gonna pack up and go.
It's time to go to the gun range and get, because we got our kids twerking on TikTok. They got their kids at the gun range at 4 years old. We got our kids twerking and jumping up and down and doing it,
wearing eyelashes and long nails, and they can't even wipe their ass. Hey, Ron, I say let's just start a real Hunger Games and see who survives.
Oh, it's about to be. Think about a year from now. Think about Sister Kara. Think about how it's going to be a year from now. We already in the Hunger Games. We don't even know it. It's going to be horrible.
I'm telling you.
They try to eliminate. I believe a lot more people passed on in these 2 years that they telling us, because everywhere I go, they short on people. They don't got enough people. I don't care if it's the service industry or whatever, corporate call center, they short on people. You know, that stimulus money ran out about 2 years ago.
But people are also sick of dealing with BS in jobs. Like some people just do not want to work anymore. They like, I'll just eat this bologna sandwich. I'm not going back in for them $12. People are just tired.
Yeah, they are.
And you know, they say the gas price is going to go up even more. And food already high. I feel like Florida Evans. Every episode, she was like, "James, you know, food high." I was like,
"Damn." It's gonna get worse. It's gonna be straight. You know, like mental illness is real because of the anxieties of the last 2 years, and people not having steady income, not knowing what's the next day or next moment is going to hold for them. So people are short-tempered right now. Like a lot of road rage. People got access to weapons, whether it be a gun or a plastic fork or whatever. They got access to things. Anything can be
full moon.
A full moon. Like I got a lot of crazy stuff going on.
Retrograde that me and
everything
Ron almost didn't make it through.
It's so much stuff I can't make it up, man. It's like my thing is not. I can't be surprised anymore. I was like, what's next? Okay. What's next? You know, I'm just like, it's no surprises no more. But I think people should be true to themselves and live their real authentic selves. That's the best thing you could do with the time, the so-called time that you have, and make your contribution and be okay if you're not the party favorite. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't do this for popularity. I've been doing this for so long. It's like it's second nature, but I'm not doing it because I'm not used to being popular. I've never been popular. I've always been bullied and shit. I don't know what it is to be loved like that. And people say it's love, but I think it's fanaticism. I guess it's a form of love, right? But I'm saying is that it's unpopular to be a truth teller. I think
I fit that
I'm a troublemaker.
Yeah. I think I was one of those people that could have been more popular, but once they realized how for Black people I am, they like, nah, she got a safe name. Her name's Kara. It sounds lovable. But once I open my mouth, they like, nah, she a little too much for us. We're gonna bring it back.
That's all right, but you ain't too much for me. I appreciate you more than you know. Yeah. So
I
ain't gonna hold y'all too long. I'll let y'all, Gavin, you want to say any parting word? I know y'all got other stuff to do.
Yeah. First off, happy Father's Day again to all the fathers out here. Special shout out to my father, Leon Richard. Thank you, Ron, for having me on. Kara, I enjoyed this. Please check out the book on Amazon.com, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in the United States. Thank y'all for letting me do this. And you know, I enjoyed coming on here. Ron, as always, you know, we met for the first time in person a couple of years ago at Tariq Nasheed's FBA conference. That was my first time meeting you and Judge Joe Brown in person. So I enjoyed sitting and talking with you, brother. It's always a pleasure. So,
yeah, I enjoyed it. I guess it was worth $300 speeding ticket in Alabama, but that's
yeah. He drove from Memphis to Atlanta to get there, man. I was a drive. So
yeah, it was great, man. Like, you know, you good things, counselor, keep up the great work. And I look forward. I started on the book. I'm on chapter 4 now. I'm just trying to, but next time I talk to you, I have it read fully and give my full thoughts. But Sister Kara is really reading through that book. And I'm blessed that she was my co-host to ask those great questions. And I think she's a great person. I think we got good chemistry like Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. I really believe that.
I gotta teach you how to fake it till you make it run. Never tell an author you didn't read his book. Just say,
I started reading the book. No, I finished the first 3 chapters.
No, I know.
Be honest, I like he gave the historical context with the Fetty Arbuckle and Dr. Sam Shepard stuff. And you know, and that's what we need to do. We need to start doing some really heavy research and start researching and reading and doing critical thinking. And I think, Gavin, if you want to understand this Cosby thing, is to get his book on Amazon and read it for yourself And like I said, it's important that, and I want to put this out there as well. Gavin, you gave Dr. Cosby or Andrew White a copy. You forward a copy to them?
Actually, I didn't get a chance to forward it to Andrew yet. I have to. So.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. You had him on your show, man. Come on, man. Now he got to fake it till he make it. He should have said no coming or plead the fifth. But I want to put
very
this
good
out.
book. Yes.
Yeah, I want to put this out. I want Dr. Cosby to really think about creating an endowment for new black media, to really invest in new black media, create an endowment for us. Because a lot of times we are out there, like I said, I've been championing Cosby since 2014. And a lot of us, like Drew Story or Nicole's View and other people have went on their own dime and expenses to support him in public. And also to interview key players like you, Gavin, with Tom Mesereau, and what Sister Nicole done, interviewing even Andrea Constance's boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And the investigators. This is work that should be applauded and supported. And I think Dr. Cosby, with his resources, should create an endowment for people like us that's really on his side, but not only on his side, but for truth and justice. People who stand for truth and justice, because it's hard to be a truth teller in a world built on lies and deception.
It need to be
punished for being honest.
I told Andrew that too. I said,
okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it out in the air. I'm gonna text him that today too. Andrew, come on, man, get the endowment together. I love what you're doing, brother, on Instagram, but this should have been done years ago. And you got to get in front of this. We got to tell our stories because, like I said, this thing ain't getting no coverage like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Like, even when I'm not trying to follow that stuff, it still follow me. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't help but open up my smartphone, my timeline, my social media, and they talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. No case. And my thing is that we need to talk about, not only talk, but also do. Because enough talk, there's more action that's required for liberation, and stop making these excuses, about loving thy enemy, because you don't love your cousin that owe you $5 from 20 years ago.
And
but
trust
you
me,
forgive the white boy that shoot your grandma in the face in the grocery store. You forgive him.
When you knew black media like us too, or not new, because you've been doing it for a long time, Ron, but you even put the Cosby name in your tag, and it's not even giving you any views. You know what I mean? Like they got it where Cosby name is kind of blocked off too. So they got to understand when we support and we tell some of these stories, it actually goes against what we're trying to do, because they will block us out. And the companies that own all these social media sites are ran by Google, and they control everything. So if y'all sit there and wonder why we're saying that we do need funding, sometimes it's because there's a lot of things against the truth coming to you guys. So that should also tell you, the people that you always hear in voice, you need to think about that and think about why they're allowing you to hear that voice all the time. Probably because you ain't getting the truth.
That's right. That's excellent. And also, this is Juneteenth. Like I said earlier, I ain't gonna keep y'all on. Y'all can get Well, Kara, tell how the people can get in touch with you. Like, how can we follow you, great Kara Dangerous, in that tradition?
Well, you guys should know me already because I do a lot of stuff with Ron, and he comes on my trending topics. But just in case you don't, I have a YouTube channel, Kara Dangerous Talk. I also have a website, karadangeroustalk.com. We'll be adding a lot more blogs and whatnot to it. So everything should be good. Have a lot of my videos on there. I do cover a lot of black content. I've incorporated some entertainment. I have Kara Dangerous Live, where I talk to artists and underground artists and, people we grew up with, and poets, all types of people. And I talk about everything, really, Ron. We cover all the bases. Nothing that you won't find on the Kara Dangerous Talk channel. And hopefully one day soon, Ron will be back and we'll do trending topics again. I think that's a fan favorite. We do that.
Oh yeah, well, like I said, we
Sundays most of the time.
That's not. I'm trying to give John. Can I give? Okay. Yeah, he was moderated. John gonna stop all this weird sex stuff in the chat room. And it's like a bit along. It's like a lot of retrograde stuff going on. But yeah, Kara, that channel is growing a lot, and I know this week coming up will be our 1 year anniversary of knowing each other. And I don't think Dr. Randy Short for that. It's going to change my life like this. Actually, it was weird. Dr. Short, I got to give him his props. I hope he get better real soon. Dr. Short, he said, you got to meet this girl, a young lady. I actually was honoring my Baba, my Jagna D. Gregory, at his grave when Dr. Short called me and told me about you. And you know, Barbara Gregory said that the two of the most powerful forces in American history, Black woman and the Black church. You know that Friday was the 7-year anniversary of the Mother Emanuel massacre. All them 9 Black people got killed. They were worshiping Jesus, whatever color he was, and had a white devil among them named Dylan Storm Roof, who was caught and sent to Burger King. And you know where he was caught at, right? In Shelby, North Carolina. That's the birthplace of Thomas Dixon, the guy who wrote The Klansman. He also went to college with Woodrow Wilson, the future president. And that book led to the movie Birth of a Nation by D.W. Griffith. And Woodrow Wilson screened that movie at the White House. And this is like from his best friend in college, novel, The Klansman. He says like writing history with lightning. And then you think about on June 16th was the 78th anniversary of the state-sponsored execution of George Stinney Jr., only 14 years old, killed. His lawyer did not file one appeal. He was dead within a month of the guilty verdict down in South Carolina again. At 14 years old, no evidence tying them to the crime of killing 2 white girls, looking for flowers. I had a chance to talk to his brother on Columbus Day 2011. His younger brother, retired minister up in Brooklyn, recorded it. I'll put it back out again. Talked to a guy who was his jailhouse mate, cellmate, and barber. And he said that George Stinney said, "I'm going to hunt you for the rest of your life." And he said he never forgot George Stinney. This is days before he was killed. And so he actually wrote a letter in support of him being exonerated. In 2014, they didn't exonerate him. They vacated the sentence because he was denied due process as a 14-year-old child. He was so small that they had to use either Bibles or phone books to put him up so he could reach the headset to electrocute him.
I hate seeing that photograph.
Yeah,
and to this day, the white family still say he did it, even though
I interviewed a white dude who daddy was part of the search party, because George was actually part of the search party looking for the white girls, because they saw him that day with his little sister. They were looking for a certain type of flower, and he said they haven't seen it or whatever. And so he actually helped join the search party, I think. But this guy named Robert Bob Ridgeway from South Carolina, I had called him on the phone. It's on my YouTube channel, We All BTV. And I talked to him. He believed that George did it to this day, but there was no evidence tying him to the girls. Where they found the body at, it was suggested that they were killed somewhere else or brought there. And they found it on the property of a guy named George Burke Sr. He had a son who was a truck driver named George Burke Jr. So a lot of people believe that he actually did a deathbed confession, and he confessed to killing them white girls, but he died just several years after they died. I think he died in the 40s, but that's the new story on it, that George Burke Jr. actually, this white son of privilege, actually killed them white girls.
Right. And so Mon, because you brought this up about his attorney. His attorney was Charles Plowden, and he was a tax commissioner. So
there you go.
He wasn't even I'm not going to say he wasn't a licensed attorney, but they appointed him. He didn't ask any questions of the police officers, question the way they got the verbal confession. We all know if he did give a confession, and Steiny did give one, that was coerced. So he wasn't given due process, and that's why his conviction was overturned. But I got to run, but I do want to say this. My channel, GBoo2786, I'm going live later tonight. You all can check that out. I shared that on, I don't know if you had put that up, Ron, but that's the channel GBoo2786.
Yeah,
of course, YouTube has us on a shadow ban like they do a lot of other brothers and sisters, including you, Ron. But we stay strong in this fight. So I'm grateful that a lot of people still subscribe to my channel and come and support. So I appreciate it. I've subscribed to yours too, Kara. So I
was gonna say, you subscribe to mine, I'm gonna subscribe to yours, brother.
I have.
Yeah, that's how we build. That's how we build, folks. Thank y'all for tuning in and tuning out with Brother Ron, because in the words of Dr. King, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. It was Michael King. His name was really Martin. It was Michael. That's another story. Right. But all Michaels are interesting people. If I have a son, I'm gonna name him Michael because he's gonna be an interesting weirdo. So without further ado, thank y'all for tuning in with us. And
devil hates Michael. Never forget the devil hates Michael.
Yeah, Michael, powerful name. You understand how powerful the name Michael is?
Michael kicked out Satan from heaven, remember?
Michael's a very powerful name, man.
I just want to remind people before y'all leave too. because you had brought up about the shooting in Carolina. There's a good documentary actually on Hulu called Active Shooter America Under Fire. I believe in episode 2 or 3 they cover that shooting at the church, and they actually talk to some of the people who the family members, and it's real emotional. So if you
is it the one Steph Curry produced? Because he did a documentary on the Mother Emanuel shooting where they talked to the people. And they're talking about forgiving the person that killed their loved ones.
Well, these people on this documentary weren't saying nothing about forgiveness. I still have to finish the episode, but one black man was very upset he lost his wife in the shooting. So, no, I don't think this is the one.
It's like the one guy I saw. Was he a minister or something, or a preacher?
Yeah, I think so. Is that the one?
Yeah, because it came out a couple of years ago. Steph Curry co-produced that. I think he produced that. I don't know if Viola Davis was also part of that, but yeah.
Are you? I don't know, because I thought this was new, but
they had one came out in 2019, I think. I saw it in the movie theater with a church, a black church. They had a free screening of it. So maybe it could be a different one, but it needs to be talked about. But that's the same church with Denmark Vesey planning the insurrection, and black folks betrayed him. They got a place in Charleston called that's a picture of George Stinney Jr., just 14 years young in that picture. But they got a place in Charleston, a street called the Hanging Tree Lane. Now, where is that where they hang Denmark Vesey and some of his people, but the tree grew so big, they cut it down. But in the middle of the street, they got a tree. They regrew the tree. They replanted a tree there. Why would they have that as a street named Hanging Tree Lane? What's that remind you of? Because majority of our people came through Charleston Harbor. 40% of the slaves came through Charleston Harbor, I believe. A lot of our people. So, I mean, it is what it is. But thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it.
And thank all the listeners out there for tuning in. I had to give y'all something because it's been a while since I did a live, and it's about to be all the way out. Yeah, hit the like button and tell your folks about this good work that we've been doing. So thank the counselor Gavin, thank brother Chris. I don't know what's going on with that. We'll see what happens. Chris had to step out, be a father, had to pick up his daughter, but it's interesting. But always the one and only Sister Kara Dangerous. Keep on living the dangerous but good life. Keep on spreading your truths and don't be scared. Keep it on. Keep on.
I'll try.
All right. Excellent.
All right. Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Well, am I removing my own self on the stream, Ron?
If you want to, yeah. Cause I won't give you can't stay. I'm gonna give my mom her props. I didn't get recorded on. If you want to stay with that, that's great. I understand we've been on for a long time. I appreciate you.
You give I just want props.
Yeah, I'll give my mom, Dr. Callie Heard. We started the show. I was 17 minutes in when I realized the show was not recording. I said, this is the second time this goofy stuff happened to me. But everything happens for a reason. I've been learning patience these last 2 years, patience with myself and with a lot of things and not taking stuff for granted. So I want to give a shout out to my mom, Dr. Callie Heard, for putting out another wonderful 4-pillow reflaying ceremony, 4-pillow massacre reflaying ceremony. This is an annual event that we've been doing since 2016 because we want to honor the righteous ancestors. And I really should have her on here to talk about her thing. I'll probably do that soon. But, we did it on Friday. It was hot as hell. Like you said, we saw the devil out there. It was so hot. I had a pool party with no water just for me. I had no pool. I just had water. I was watering the plants in the dirt. It was growing grass. Everywhere I went, I was like Johnny Appleseed or something. But we pulled it off since 2016. We've been doing it on the anniversary of the 4-pillow massacre on April 12th. But because of the COVID and all this stuff, we moved it to around Juneteenth time. So that's us, some of the people representing G.A. Hardaway, his suit and tie and tennis shoes on, and his head was sweating. It was hot, but my mom, everybody's there. The gang's all here, so I just want to thank them for pulling this off. We could not do this without the beloved community. It was a village effort, and we know it's going to grow and grow because we can see this getting like Memorial Day or even Juneteenth one day because we all started those things. It was Black people moving in love to heal from pain that started these wonderful festive holidays or holidays, whatever. But my mom was featured on local news, ABC 24. They interview her, and also the local newspaper, the Commercial Appeal. cover our event as well. But also, I believe in documenting our history and telling our stories. So you can always go on We All Be TV and look up our history of honoring our ancestors, our righteous ancestors, on our playlist about 4 Pillow. So I just want to thank everybody. I'm gonna get this show. Thank everybody for tuning in to now, and thanks Sister Carol for riding with me till the wheels fall out. I appreciate it.
And I just want to say I'm so proud of you again, because you're one of the people that always try to uplift the community, and you respect the elders and the ancestors, and you always trying to make sure that you keep their legacy alive and their work alive. So I just want to tip the hat off to you for people that don't get to see you and talk to you, and continue to do the work that you're doing. And we really appreciate that.
And likewise with you too, Sister Carol. In the words of Duke Ellington, we love you madly. You keep on producing and pushing. And peace out, everybody.
Right on, brother. Right on.